welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Canat. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go! Donoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Shootout countdown, Danny Beresne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Borman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion. Well, good evening everybody and welcome back to PSGL. I tell you what, it's come once more. We opened our account last week, racing at Bahrain. Now we turn, for me at least, and probably Jack too, closer to home. We are back in the UK, and I think the biggest shock, let's take all the racing out of this. The one, the only Jack Canan's back with me in the box. Jack, where have you been, sir?
I got lost, I'm sorry. Yeah, so thanks for having me back, I suppose, guys. It's been a year, can you believe it, since I've last been in the PSGL commentary box. That's how long ago it was. So excited to be back. Very excited to get back on track. I've been slacking lately. League racing's back. I'm excited.
And do you know who else is back, Jack? The audience at home as well. Great to have the viewers here with us once more for what will be, I'm sure, another amazing season. We already came off the back of a stellar run last time out at Bahrain. Let's take a look at the confirmed results from last time, because there was a lot to look at. Lucas Blakely taking the victory, clear by nearly 2.4 seconds to Brendan Lee, who looked revitalised after that really sensational second stint, making the change onto the faster rubber. Caraton and Fassi, though, however, Williams, the surprise package, huge potential there, Jack. Caraton, a distant servant for Williams. He's been with them now for such a long time. And Fassi, fellow Spaniard, might I add, finishing just behind him in fourth.
Yeah, really good run by Williams there. You can see that there could be dark horses. There's a lot of, I suppose, of surprise packages. We're seeing Brendan Lee back up towards the front again, as we would expect. But Lucas Blakely, again, showing his class. Perfect strategy last time out to break that DRS. And we know how strong the slipstream is on this game. So to get away from that was really, really impressive. So Blakely out front. We know the record of sort of PSGL, I suppose, scoring is normally the person who goes on to win the first race generally kind of doesn't go on to win the title normally, because Barry used to win them all and he only won one title. But you can imagine, so I suppose in that regard, winning the first race is not really ideal in PSGL stat land, but Lucas Blakely won't really care, will he?
No, not at all. I mean, this is exactly how he would like to start. He had a painful campaign in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship last season, and he couldn't wait to get from there. But he seems to be back with a burning passion, eager to take his title back. No driver has reclaimed the F1 Sim Racing title after losing it. Looking further down, Opmeer down in 5th place. It was a real tough visit. Of course, went into the back of Caraton in towards turn 1 after just missing that braking zone, coming in a little bit too hot into turn 1. Nicholas Longe not here tonight, in fact. He's away on holiday, but is replaced by Jack West. Beresne in 7th. He finished there with Burman in behind him. Hoffland, a fantastic first run for Duncan Hoffland, Jack, and needed as well, moving up from development status to a full-time PSGL seat.
Yep, scoring points is where you want to be. I suppose Aston Martin have sort of struggled in the past to get points off the board. So Duncan Hoffland being that driver is always excellent to see. But of course he'll be looking to keep that record going, which is again a tough ask in a grid this size as well. So, and you mentioned obviously Jarno Opmeer again is finishing strongly, but as he said himself, he seems to be back on form when it comes to qualifying, because we saw in the previous game qualifying was not his strong point, but he seems to have found that pace straight away on this game.
He certainly has. Qualifying has very rarely been the Flying Dutchman's strong suit. His former teammate Jake Benham finishing in 10th as well. This is how the championship standings look. Obviously, the results reciprocating that as well. Lucas Blakely, of course, leading that Drivers' Championship, and he'll be hoping to stay there come the end of the season, but still a long way to go. Let's take a look at the teams as well, because that's slightly more interesting, because it's, a total between the two drivers and what they scored in the opening round. And it's Williams who are at the head of the team standings with 18 points after that fabulous run from Alvaro Carreton, Ismail Fassi. They are now looking to solidify their place up at the top, but McLaren are going to be formidable. Wilson Hughes still looking for his better form. Lucas Blakely winning last time out, obviously helping them out, getting into second place. Kick Sauber down in third with Thomas Ronhart and Brendan Lee. As I said before, Brendan Lee seemingly back to his very best. Ferrari in fourth and Alpine round out the top five. But still a lot of racing still to come. Here is our season grid throughout the campaign to give you guys a quick run through. As you can see on screen, Otmir still undecided really. Of course, many people suspecting a trip to Alpine, we're not quite sure. Ido lines up alongside him. Blakely and Hughes at McLaren, Donoso, Hofland, Aston Martin, Ben and Berejne at Mercedes, Bruman Longue in Ferrari, Rasmussen, Manley in Red Bull, Clay and Gal at Haas, and RB with Barrett and Paragic. Ronha and Lee at Kick, Fassi and Carreton at Williams. That is the grid for the season. Of course, we do have a few absences tonight that we will go through. The season calendar, we've ticked off Bahrain. We have now arrived at Britain. We're going to take a trip around Silverstone, the Earl Grey of World Motorsport, in its Arena Grand Prix layout that has been active since 2011. And of course, we can, of course, take you through around it as well. There it is in all its glory. 5.891 kilometers. That's 3.660 miles, 18 corners with 2 DRS zones coming through the Wellington Straight, coming out of the first sector into sector 2, and then the beloved Hanger Straight, where we'll see a lot of the moves taking place coming out of turn 14 at Chapel Curve in towards Stowe at turn 15. Now, there's only one man who can really tell us more about this track. It's the one, the only Brendan Lee. He took us on a hot lap.
Welcome to round 2 of PSGL, here today at what hopefully will be sunny Silverstone. It certainly is sunny while recording this lap. The home of British motorsports, my home race as well, and always one to deliver a cracker of a race. What's really important around a track like Silverstone is to have such an importance on the front downforce to bite the friction of the front tyres into the racing surface. Coming to the end of Sector 1, we have the iconic Brooklands corner here, what leads into Luffield. Long, flowing, dynamic ability to rotate the car and straight line the exit as much as possible is absolutely critical and pivotal for lap time potential around this track. Into Cobb's Corner, that'll be easily flat out come qualifying day, and should be flat out on more laps than not during the race as well. Maggins and Beck, it's all about compromising and setting up the next section here throughout these apexes, looking to maximise your exit speed on to the back straight. A feature around this track on this year's game is it's quite bumpy, so you're going to see drivers taking racing lines to try and avoid the bumps on the straight, most notably into turn 1 on the Brooklyn Straight, and of course the back straight as well. You'll see drivers darting for the inside and middle of the track to try and avoid the bumps that are featured in this year's game. With that being said, this is a hot lap of Silverstone ahead of PSGL tonight.
Well, Brendan Lee giving us a hot lap guide ahead of tonight's action, and of course we have got quali just coming up very shortly. And I think if you're a British driver, Jack, you've got a lot to be excited about when it comes to Silverstone, because 3 of our last 3 winners, you know, we've had 5 races here in PSGL PCF1 at this track. 3 of our last winners have all been British drivers.
Yeah, we certainly has, and of course we've had plenty of battles in the past when it comes to Silverstone as well. I remember Opmir versus Blakely, of course, a couple of seasons ago was a fantastic one to watch. 2 former champions who are going at it as well. So we are about to get into qualifying just a few moments time, so we should bring you that in just a second. So we'll get over to trackside, and for the most part at least, it does look dry at Silverstone. And we will also point out as well, we are running the F1 World multiplayer car this year for this season, because again there has been some debates around whether the cars are equal on the actual teams, so we've decided to just make it equal, make it fair, and switch over to the F1 World car, so you'll see those out on track this evening.
You certainly will. As you can see, folks, the timer is now ticking. We're getting set to head into qualifying, so yeah, don't despair. We have, of course, got the F1 World Car, but nonetheless, the drivers are still here to prove a point. And here at this stage, until we get clarification, obviously, as to whether all issues around the current cars are allayed, then we can get back into business. But a lot of the liveries do kind of show up the same as the teams that they do drive for. But yeah, going back to the former winners, I think obviously there's a few names here that obviously don't feature in the top end anymore here, Jack. We've got to look at Jake Benham's performance last time, back in season 36, taking a victory. It was a huge fight towards the end between he and Ismail Fassi. Both drivers feature here tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. Jake Benham took a victory here as well. Blakely's taken victory here as well. So there's, as you said, there is good pedigree here when it comes to wins. So all these guys we have to talk about in that way. So we'll keep an eye on that. We're also keeping an eye on whether we're actually going to restart the lobby because we lost Brendan Lee before we even loaded in. So I think we might get a bit more fill time, George, by the looks of it, as we see Otis Lawrence trying to entertain us with some donuts.
Well, the good news, Jack, is that we did have a little chat with Lucas Blakely earlier on in the weekend, and he gave us his thoughts on coming into Silverstone.
Thoughts and feelings heading into Silverstone. I think it'll be maybe slightly different to Bahrain with sort of how it races. With the way we use the ERS on this game, sort of how we're stuck in a train. So it's going to be interesting to see how we're able to make our way through. Maybe the strategies are different as well. So yeah, it'll probably be a different experience to the opening round, which went well for us, managing to pick up the win in the end. But yeah, Bahrain's a very, very different track to Silverstone. So albeit performance was good at Bahrain, we have no idea how it's going to be going into Silverstone. I think everyone's in the same boat this game, where we don't really know where you are until you sort of turn up, and then it can change probably quite dramatically round to round. So yeah, it keeps it exciting, keeps it unpredictable for everybody watching and for us drivers, obviously, competing. And yeah, it should be hopefully a fun race. Not quite sure how it's going to pan out yet, but we'll give it everything and have some fun along the way.
Well, great to hear from Lucas Blakely, and it was a great return back at Bahrain. The actual opening stint on the hards was so key, Jack, and it does seem the case, like it was last season, the hard tyre is a fantastic race tyre.
It is, if you can manage that early phase, of course, because what you don't want to do is burn out the tyre too early. And of course, you're going to suffer a lot at the start, and when you have other guys starting out other compounds. So the closer you can stay to the other cars in front, the better. And of course, that's what Lucas Blakely did. He managed it perfectly, stuck with the medium and the soft runners, and made it work when it counted. So we'll see if he can do something similar to that again today, if he can go back to back. Now, there's been very few drivers that have managed to win the opening race and go back to back, and the only person may have been possibly either Barry or Jarno who managed to do that back in the early days. So we'll see if that happens. But we are in the process of getting a new lobby up, so do bear with us. I believe it was because of an incorrect time setting, so it wasn't because of the game this time.
I'm not going to air the guy, much like the second Bahrain, obviously here at this stage. But yeah, no, it's a shame. But in terms of Blakely, again, form around this track. He was a victor here back in season 34, and I think to date, the only driver to go from pole to victor here at Silverstone.
Interesting statistics. It's so obviously judging off that, the amount of times we've come to Silverstone, pole is not where you want to be. No, so because it's only worked once.
Only one out of the five. So that's 4 occasions where we haven't had pole to victor.
Yeah, so in that way, you really don't want to qualify on pole here, but no. We'll see. It could all change, and we're expecting plenty of shake-ups this season as well. I think an interesting point from just looking at the team standings there. Of course, we got you got Williams scoring well. You've got McLaren. I think probably a little bit of a surprise one might have been Red Bull 0 points round 1.
Yeah, which is truly incredible, because Freddie Rasmussen was on pole here. Back in the very early days of PCF1, back in season 29, the Great Dane took pole. Didn't actually take victory. He went to Patrick Sheepos. Do you remember that famous victory, Jack, that we saw the Hungarian take all the way back then? Of course, it's a shame we're not going to be seeing him, unfortunately, up at the very top. But, at the end of the day, fantastic talent at the time. It was a great race. Silverstone does generally generate fantastic races. And we can actually hear, in fact, from another former PSGL Silverstone victor, young Jake Benham, and we all want to hear from the All-Star. Let's hear from him now.
Hi guys, Jay Benham here, driver from Mercedes AMG Petronas Esports team, and heading into round 2 of PSGL here on Wednesday. Thoroughly looking forward to it around Britain. Not one of my stronger tracks this game, I wouldn't say, but yeah, definitely looking forward to the racing nonetheless, just to learn as much as possible in this first season before we head into F1 Esports, which I'm hoping is in the near future. Round 1, it was pretty decent. Quali was okay, and then lacked a bit of race pace, I felt. By a bit, I mean about like 2 tenths a lap maybe. So yeah, and it also didn't get made to look even better just because we were on the complete wrong strategy. Didn't really practice the race, so it is what it is. We know what to work on, but ultimately the Achilles heel of the last 2 years qualifying is definitely looking stronger this year. Also with the departure of my teammate, which I've been teammates with for like last 3 years or something, Jarno. Yeah, obviously best of luck to him in his new team, and ultimately it opens up opportunity for me to be more of a senior role in the team. So yeah, thoroughly looking forward to this year ahead, and yeah, hopefully we can have some good racing on track.
Jay Benham, everybody. Of course, winner here last time out, season 36. And like we said, big battle with Ismail Fassi towards the bitter stages of that. Big changes at Mercedes, Jack. We alluded in round 1, obviously, when TK was here, to the Jarno Opmeer departure from Mercedes. And we're now heading into another vein where he's sitting in an Alpine now, is Jarno Opmeer. But Benham, so rightly saying, he's adjusting to a new role almost as a senior leader, senior figure, but he does have Danny Berejny alongside him.
He does, yeah, but it is a good opportunity, like you said, for him to jump into a senior role, because he's been part of the team for a few seasons now. He's shown that he's a very capable driver, but I suppose now it comes to the point: is he now going to be capable of leading the team? But he has got Danny Berejny, as he said, so there's a good lineup there, and a good amount of experience amongst them as well. Of course, the elephant in the room, of course, is that Jarno is now in an Alpine in this. Now, obviously, he's not in one tonight, but he was last week, and that caused a bit of controversy. Well, not a controversy, but debate, I suppose, about where is he going, where is he heading. What I will say is that in PSGL, anytime a driver tells you that they're not moving teams because they switched cars, they're lying, because Barry Borman did it, and look where he ended up.
I was about to say, do you remember Ferrari, the whole Ferrari? I think it was Paul Ricard, actually. I think that we were heading into, and both he and Longuet lined up in the past. But yeah, it was quite humorous. But with Jake Benham, again, coming into F1 Esports last season, he spent a good deal of time almost behind the scenes, Jack, I would say. Until then, he really got his chance, I think, in this season's F1 Sim Racing Championship. So hopefully now things will sort of go his way and he can have that senior role. I think at the team, he has got form. He's competed at the highest level. We've seen him win here in PSGL, here at Silverstone as well, by all means too. And bear in mind, Longuet was on pole for that one and only finished 13th. So, Benham's got star quality.
He certainly has, and he's incredibly capable of winning, as we've seen. And like you said, the Achilles heel last season was qualifying. They're hoping to improve that now. But we are finally, second time lucky. I think we're loading into qualifying again.
Yes, we're not far away, folks, so do not panic. We could take a look at the grid here tonight, in fact, and give you guys the lowdown. Of course, Alpine, essentially, we're going to call out the teams because they were organised into teams. Alpine, Opmeer and Edu, as well as Aston Martin. Now, Aston Martin are running with Otis Lawrence and Istvan Pukki tonight. We also have Barry Burremand and Jack West, with Tamas Gal-Shanaka Clay at Haas, Burremand and West, of course, at Ferrari. Further down, Kick with Ron Haar and Lee. We have McLaren lining up Lucas Blakely, Wilson Hughes, as well as Mercedes, Jake Benham and Danny Berejny. Red Bull lining up with Manley and Rasmussen, with RB, with Tomek Parajic and Barrett, and we also have Williams running with Alvaro Carreton, Ismail Fassi. So that is our runners. Good opportunities there for a few new drivers, Jack. Jack West comes in. I think that's a nice opportunity for him.
Certainly is, yeah. Good opportunity. Of course, even though he's obviously not full-time in the championship either, so he can sort of do what he wants in a way and just see what happens. Try something new. Try and upset the boat a little bit. as he heads out onto the circuit now. Speaking of which, he's the first driver out on the circuit here at Silverstone. And, well, it gives me an opportunity to bring back the line that I've said for the past, I don't know, I have 4 game cycles now. There's 3 things that are certain in life: death, taxes, and intermediates in Q1. Yeah,
absolutely right. It goes without saying, obviously a lot of the drivers do like to run that intermediate tyre to get us underway. We'll move over to the full screen as well, guys. But Jack West stepping up here into PCF1 once more. We were hoping to get a bit of a chat with him, but we did not get the opportunity, unfortunately. But hopefully, as time draws on, we can hear from him, because he, of course, has been chasing down an opportunity to find himself a full-time seat, but needs to try and raise the stakes. And with it being so competitive these days, Jack, the quest for seats in F1 sim racing is so tough.
It is, and we know that the teams do keep a very close eye on league racing. It's a chance for you to prove yourself. So even if you're not a full-time, part of the grid, it's an opportunity when you do step up to PCF1. It gives you a chance to show what you can do against all these guys who are competing in F1 sim racing. And we've seen it in the past of guys graduating through that. We've seen Tomek Prajic go through, Otis Lawrence as well. I mean, when he won here sensationally, of course, everyone did take notice after that as well. And everyone here has gone through league racing in some fashion. So it is a perfect proving ground for everybody to show what they can do. As Georgia now coming back into the pit lane after one install lap, and we will see shortly now good drivers going out for their first runs in Q1. But of course, don't expect anything to break the sound barrier, let's say, in these early stages.
Yeah, well, here we go. Jarno Opmeer with us, everybody. We're right on board here with the Flying Dutchman as he now makes his way through turn 1, coming through Abbey and through towards turn 2 at Farm Curve, breaking down now just before the 50, after the 100, coming through Village, in towards the loop at turn 4, and then a trip through Aintree. Double left-hander, you need to be cautious of the curve on that right-hand side. Jarno, no fears of taking that one down the Wellington straight. DRS will be open at this portion of track. On in the intermediate tyres, so not concerned about setting a lap here on softs just yet. Of course, the track will heat up as time goes on, and utilising those inters and getting track time out there will, of course, aid that temperature increasing. Track temperature now on the rise, up to 36 degrees now, as Jarno flies down the straight, coming through out of Sector 2. Very soon he'll be in Sector 3. Out of Cops Corner he goes, out to turn 9. Maggots and Beckett's comes up next to trip through turns 10, 11, 12, and then 13 out of Beckett's, to then take you through to Chapel Curve around this next left-hander at turn 14, where he'll meet DRS once more, and down Hanger he will blast, heading in towards the next right-hander at Stowe, coming through turn 15 and then trip down Vale, and he'll then visit the hellacious Club Corner, the scenes of where he would have his very own here. Well, through goes Lewis Hamilton moment in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship last time out, coming through the final bend now, and sets a 1:28.876. Not representative because, of course, on intermediates, but Jarno nestling the first time on the board.
Yeah, it's almost a little mini championship we should start up here, the Inters Championship. Maybe that'll get more. Maybe that'll get some interesting first parts of Q1 with Jarno fastest. Danny Perez is the only other car that's on a lap, and he beats him by just about a tenth of a second. So far, Danny Perez heads up the intermediate qualifying lap times, and that's probably the only two who will do that. But yeah, great to see these two out once again. It's going to get quiet out on track now as these guys come back into pit lane. You can expect more cars to emerge around the sort of heading towards the 10 minutes to go mark. Of course, they use the intermediates just to not waste a set of tyres, of course, and to check that their wheel and setups are all loaded correctly without using a set of dry tyres. So that is why you will see them out on intermediates at this phase of qualifying, and we will see how things go, but still plenty to look forward to. And of course, it's all about getting into that top 15 in Q1 as well. But as we've seen before, we have many times seen shock exits in Q1.
We have, and we've seen it time and time again. We had a few last time as well, but certainly no less. I'm sure some of these drivers will be looking for a reprieve after our recent trip to Bahrain, and I would say one of them is probably Freddie Rasmussen. It was a very tricky first opening round for him, but the one thing with Freddie, he's got the best poker face known to man when it comes to sim racing. But it's what's incredible to me is how he started his sim racing career all the way back in 2013. Loads of experience, became the F1 sim racing world champion last season, and has also added that to his Formula E Accelerate championships back-to-back in 2021 and 2022. So whilst obviously we shouldn't take too much stock away from the 24-year-old Dane in terms of his performance last time out at Bahrain, I would say, given the amount of accolades he has managed to store, there's still more to come from Freddie.
There is, yeah. It almost felt like a full circle moment seeing Freddie finally take an F1 sim racing championship. I mean, how many times was he second across all those seasons, and finally getting it, of course. But that means, of course, there are now three. The current F1 sim racing champion and two previous ones are on the grid here, PSGL. The only one we're missing is David Tinitza, of course, who is not part of this anymore. But it makes it very, very interesting to keep up to date with everything. It's at times like these with the intermediates that I kind of miss having Fabrizio Donoso out on track, because he used to make things very entertaining and just drift around the whole lap.
He's actually not here with us, actually. He's actually doing something with Aston Martin. I believe they do have some kind of event on at the moment. So Donoso not able to race tonight, but it does feed, like we said before, opportunities to young drivers looking for seats in the near future. Otis Lawrence being one of those young drivers. And just before we hear or see any more laps, because things have gone relatively quiet, we can hear from him now.
Hello everyone, Otis Lawrence here. I'm very excited for PSGL Round 2 at Silverstone. Very exciting track, very good track historically for me. And yeah, it's a very fun track. It's going to be interesting this year. It's always been an interesting race on the calendar. And yeah, hopefully we can have a better Round 2 than Round 1 compared to Bahrain, because we didn't have a best Bahrain result. We didn't quite have the pace. We kind of lacked a lot on setup, and yeah, never really been a great track for me. So yeah, hopefully we can bounce back at Silverstone, and yeah, hopefully we can give it in the championship as well. I know I'm reserved, but yeah, it's going to be good. I feel I got really good pace in this game, considering, you know, we've done really good results in the sister league. We haven't quite got the good result yet in PSGL, so hopefully it'll come. My luck will come soon, and yeah, I'm very excited. I hope everyone enjoys the race.
Well, I think, for one, we're all looking forward to seeing how young Otis Lawrence gets on, Jack, because, of course, he is a talent, a remarkable talent, and I have to say, his rise has been sensational. Starting back at the age of 14, he's now become 16, qualifies for an opportunity, I would argue, for an F1 esports seat. Well, he does by age, so surely it's just a ticking clock right now, is it not?
So, yeah, of course it is. It now brings the question of who decides to pick him up in that regard. So we'll keep an eye. I mean, he may not get a full-time seat, but he may get a chance to hop in on the occasional race in the third driver role, of course, which is, of course, are equally as important. But it is certainly an opportunity to, again, show that he is very much of the standard to F1 sim racing. So we'll see how things go, and this is a perfect opportunity for him to do that. Now, plenty of cars out on track. It came out right around when they said they would, around the 10-minute mark, as we heard from Otis Lawrence there. First car that's leading us around is Barry Burman, former champion of PSGL. Let's not forget in that dramatic final race between himself and Thomas Ronar, which ended with them equal on points and going back to count back. It was an incredible finish, and of course he now holds a PSGL title. And he was, again, he is, I think, the driver that holds the record for the most amount of wins of the opening round. But in each of those times, he never went on to win the championship, even though he was a contender.
Yeah, and arguably, probably the one driver that's been unfortunate, I would say, in the past. But, you know, we speak about Jana Watmere and Lucas Blakely, of course, having real-life experience behind cars. Of course, Lucas Blakely winning in GB4, Jana Watmere winning in, taking part in SMP F4 and representing MP Motorsport in a junior career. Of course, siding himself with the Renault brand, which is why probably we shouldn't be too surprised to see him driving an Alpine. But Barry Burman is someone who does have experience to that akin as well. A 7-time Iranian karting national champion. So, you know, there's some transferable skills there, Jack.
It certainly is, and it's a chance for him now to continue to try and put a title charge on. But we'll see. But again, like you said, he has been unfortunate in all of those seasons between disconnects, and of course, who can forget Lucas Blakely's championship-winning season, where it came down to one singular lap that decided it, and ultimately it was a collision between Barry and Freddie Rasmussen as well, coming out of the first corner on the first corner of the final lap, excuse me. And ultimately Lucas Blakely went through to ultimately claim the title as a result of that one instant. But Barry was leading the championship going in there. He's coming round to finish his first lap on the soft tyres. Looked like he was struggling with quite a lot of understeer going into Stowe that time. He's really wrestling that car around as he comes out of the final corner. Now it's a 25.5. There's your difference between inters and dries, and you'll see now the times starting to come in, and we'll get the first indication of who is going quickly as Ishmael Fassi in the Williams goes to the top for the moment.
Yeah, he certainly does with a 125.470. Declan Barrett also on soft tyres, registered purple in the second sector, but not enough in sector 3, which has cost him just a little bit. Tamas Gal coming across the line, going 8th fastest. Was actually purple in the first sector, has now since sunk to 10th. Just goes to show how much time you can lose. Brendan Lee going 8th fastest this time. And what about a champion here in PSGL, former champions Thomas Ronha goes back to the top. Someone else who struggled back at Bahrain. Lucas Blakely, though, only enough for 11th fastest, but again, looking to move onwards and upwards after winning back at Bahrain last time out. Good to see Ronha, though, at the top here, Jack, because his opening round did not go to plan.
Certainly didn't. He'll be wanting to make amends for that this time around, and we'll see how that goes for him. Has always been strong in qualifying, but of course didn't go his way in Bahrain, so we'll see if he can do anything about that here. Ishmael Fassi going well, currently second fastest, and then we've kind of got a range of British drivers lining up behind there. Declan Barrett, Tom Manley, Otis Lawrence, Shanaka Clay, all in there as well. They'll be wanting to prove themselves on, make sure that they go well on home ground as well. Only 3 drivers have not set a time yet. Freddie Rasmussen of our Caraton, who has also gone very well here in the past. And of course, Josh Edo, Welshman down at the bottom, he has not set a time. So we'll see how that goes. But currently, Ronhar with the fastest time so far. 4 minutes on the clock. That'll be time to come back in, bolt another set of tyres on, and go again.
Yeah, has got time. 4 minutes and 30. Still plenty more to come. Air temperature now sitting at 24 degrees. Track temperature solidifying at 36. So very hot out there now. And the drivers now have every chance to register faster laps. But Ronha holding all the cards as he comes into the pits. Tom Manley as well coming in 4th fastest here in Q1. His career really started in 2022 after becoming champion in F1 Esports Challenges on Xbox, and then debuted the following year in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship for AlphaTauri. Did the 19-year-old from Crewe, and a lot of people suggesting that he could be a big favourite to take over Josh Edo's former Red Bull seat alongside Freddie Rasmussen, which I would say is definitely a possibility, just given the sheer presence of the young man. He has been sensational, Jack, since taking the Challengers Championship.
Yeah, it'd certainly be a really interesting lineup. You've got one of the most experienced guys in the grid, Freddie Rasmussen, and one of the most respected, alongside Tom Mann. Of course, he's still, again, he is the F1 Challengers champion, as you said, is proven as well. But what a lineup that'd be to have the two of them alongside each other in Red Bull as well. So now we are getting into, I suppose, the end of Q1, and of course you can see Thomas Ronhar, Ishmael Fassi. They're confident they will not have to go again. Otis Lawrence also feels that he's not going to be he's going to be safe on a 25.56. Declan Barrett as well hasn't retired. Now he has. So that sort of gives you an indication of what they believe to be the safe times to get through. Again, remember, it's all about being in that top 15. You don't want to be in that bottom 5. So Freddie Rasmussen, Alvaro Caraton and Josh Edo are all banking on just having one run at this. Yeah, it's a huge gamble, certainly for those that have retired. But at the end of the day, if they feel comfortable, they will know better than we do. 125s shared in amongst them all. In fact, everybody has nailed in a 125, but it's 125
125.454 for Ronha that holds the top time, a 125.470 for Fassi, and then a 125.524 for Declan Barrett. Mere fragments really between Ps1 and Ps5. Shanaka Clay opting to stay out. Jake Benham, former winner of course around here last time out, really likes Silverstone. He even said it himself, Jack, but alludes to the fact that their qualifying pace might have needed work.
Yeah, they certainly do, and of course we're also getting used to the fact now, because we're in the F1 World Car, we're going to have to remember that Jake and Jarno are not teammates anymore. So keep that in mind as we go through this as well. Jarno, of course, representing Alpine currently, and Jake still part of that Mercedes outfit as well. What's not helping is that the two of them are in very, very similar liveries at the same time. So do forgive us if we accidentally mix that up again, because they've been teammates for so long. But Jake Benham, as he said, he's going to be looking to try to put those qualifying woes to bed this time, get through to Q2 well, he'd hope to get through easily enough, but we'll see if he can do that as well. And Jarno, of course, he was also alluding to the fact he struggled in qualifying last year as well. He'll be hoping to get through on that as well. So as you can see, top 6 have all retired on a 25.582. Barry Borman feels he's going to have to go again on a 25.58, so he's expecting big improvements. But we're not seeing any sign of Josh Ito or Freddie Rasmussen coming out onto the circuit, so they are already going to be out of qualifying.
Yeah, they certainly will. So not ideal for them. But bear in mind, Rasmussen and Ito do have a qualifying ban, so they cannot obviously proceed any further. So that's 2 spots that you can forget about. Rasmussen and Ito not going to take part in this session regardless, after the penalties that were dished out after the first round. Jake Benham is going to be the first driver to cross the line here at the tail end of Q1 in hope of registering his time and solidifying his place in the top 15. So he goes through into Q2. Currently 10th fastest as he makes his way out of Copse Corner. And now a trip through Maggots and Beckett's once again, to the right and the left. And a sea of cars that are all queuing up in behind, looking to go faster themselves to hopefully make their way through to the next session. His former teammate Jarno Opmeer also out on track, has in fact managed to nestle in a purple first sector. Jake Benham has just gone purple in sector 2, so this is looking like a good lap here from the All-Star. Winner here back in season 36, as we said, beating down Ishmael Fassi, who is also looking to hold his position. Of course, he's already retired as Benham now comes across the line and doesn't in fact improve, remains 10th place. That's not ideal, Jack.
No, it isn't. He did improve, but only by 0.03 of a second. This Van Pookie's popped in behind. Caraton goes up to 12th now. Thomas Gall sets the fastest time, 25.437. Jack West across the line on a 25.53. Wilson Hughes pops in now, so it's getting a little bit close for comfort for those in front as well. Brendan Lee currently in the drop zone. Lucas Blakely goes up to the top now, or at 2nd place. Brendan Lee, is he going to be safe? Just about. Knocks out Istvan Pukki as well. Caraton is going to be out. Jarno's now up to the top of the times as well. And Jake Benham on the cusp now. Is he going to be safe? I think he is, just about. By 0.03 of a second was the gap between the drop zone and P15. So there is going to be the final classification. So out in Q1, Istvan Pukki, Alvaro Caraton is also going to be out. Tomek Prajic, Freddie Rasmussen and Josh Ito had those qualifying bans. But as you can see, look how close that was on the way through. There was less than 100th between Jake Benham, Istvan Pukki and Alvaro Caraton. And again, a couple of thousandths between Brendan Lee and Jake Benham. So super close, super tight margins, but 0.003 is what separated Istvan Pukki from a Q2 appearance.
And Danny Berejny at the very last minute going 2nd fastest with a 125.429. Again, mere thousandths between Opmeer and Berejny, former teammates last season, and former teammates, in fact, in both seasons, where Jarno Opmeer would go on to take his very own F1 sim racing titles, both at Sauber. Of course, later he would take the title at Mercedes too. But, of course, that would be with Danny Moreno. But looking at this lineup, absolutely sensational. We'll obviously take you through the eliminees from Q1, everybody, but that was very, very close. Certainly for you, Jake Benham, not ideal. Jarno Opmeer is your fastest driver here in Q1. Danny Berejny finishing in 2nd. Tamas Gal later the day finished in 3rd. Lucas Blakely finished 4th. Thomas Ronha up to 5th. Ishmael Fassi 6th. Declan Barrett up to 7th. Good qualifying session from him. Jack West alike also in the top 10. Tom Manley 9th. Otis Lawrence in 10th. Shanaka Clay in 11th. Barry Burman in 12th. Wilson Hughes in 13th. Brendan Lee 14th. Jake Benham by the skin of his teeth in 15th. But we lose Istvan Pukki, Alvaro Caraton. So the man who finished 3rd last time at Bahrain will not be going through to Q2. Tomek Parajic, Freddie Rasmussen with the qualifying ban, as well as Josh Edo down in 20th place. So there we go. That is our results concluded here from Q1. A few shockers there, Jack. I would say probably, the one we really probably should look at was the close call for young Jake Benham. I mean, it looked like after his second sector that hit purple, he set a 34.969, as shown on my telemetry screen here. But losing out in a key area, Sector 1 did not look good at all. In fact, a whole 10th of a second off everyone else in that first sector, and he could have been a lot quicker in Sector 3.
Yeah, he could have been, but it was just enough. I mean, when we look at the gaps all the way down to Tomek Parajic, there's about 0.3 of a second covering everybody, which is, again, standard practice here at this level. So he'll be happy that he managed to nail that Sector 2 enough just to get in front of Istvan Pukki, but he'll know that there's more time there, and he'll take comfort from the fact that, again, if there's a 10th there in that first sector, then he's going to be up towards inside the top 10 quite comfortably. But of course, he's going to need that now because we're heading into Q2. Top 10 go through into Q3 for the pole shootout. So it's going to get busy out here. You may also see, of course, that collisions are turned off. If you're not familiar, of course, slipstream incredibly powerful on this game. So to make it even, the drivers have agreed for collisions to be turned off, which means that slipstream is also disabled. So that is why you might see cars ghosting and going through each other out on track.
Yeah, generally here in PCF1, all the rules and regulations are there to support the drivers taking part in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship. They're all looking to gather data at the same time. The safety car being off, they don't want any, should we say, untrue to form results, really. It's got to be ironclad and done out on track, which will go to show us as to who are the faster drivers, I suppose, in that essence. You take the peripherals out of it, and it's just down to the fact as to who could be the quickest. And even then, we had a fantastic finish. And, last time at Bahrain, where strategy really made the difference, Jack.
Indeed, yeah. So you can see now that this sort, without the slipstream enabled, of course, they've said that it's incredibly powerful. So this will equalize everybody out and see who's going to be who's the quickest. Really, it's essentially one-shot qualifying in a way, without the influence of only having one lap, of course. So you'll have plenty of opportunity to go again and not have to worry about getting impeded on your lap as well. Is also not going to be a factor here. So that will be good for them in that regard. So drivers now out on their first laps. You can expect some of these to be on a used tyre from Q1. So don't expect these times to be the fastest of the day, but we'll get an indication of who's on new and who's on used at the end of these laps. So we'll see how that goes. But Declan Barrett is actually the first car out on track. Good opportunity for him as well. Home Grand Prix, first full season in PCF1. He'll be wanting to make an impression.
Yeah, he certainly will, and has actually held the purple first sector, so a very, very good start to Q2 here for young Declan Barrett, and if he can really put in place a solid Sector 2 visit, he could yet correspond with yet another purple, but let's wait and see. He will take it briefly, being the first one to cross the timing line and the transponder. 27.2 in that first sector as he now hustles down the long hanger straight and then a trip in towards Stowe Corner, and it's a 35.088. In fact, the second purple sector goes to Tom Manley. So a nice visit there from the driver representing the Red Bull team, as now Declan Barrett comes up towards the line now. Jana Watmere will be just behind him. Barrett sets a 1:25.630. Jana Watmere going second fastest. Tom Manley, though, goes fastest. Brendan Lee usurps him after going purple in the second sector. Fantastic start for him. Benham coming into the pits. Not a great start for him. Otis Lawrence coming around the final corner and goes third fastest. So already the odd invalidation creeping in. Tamashgal being one of them. Of course, having to come into the box. Not an idea. Well, in fact, Thomas Gall actually setting a lap, but Lucas Blakely losing out on his jack. Jake Benham also invalidating his first run.
Yeah, Lucas Blakely with the invalidation, as you said, but you can see out front, very, very close, 25.5, so you can sort of assume that those are going to be a used set of tyres, because the fastest times in Q1 were in the 25.4s, so these will not be your fastest times of the day, but Brendan Lee taking the honours in that so far. Tom Manley, Otis Lawrence, Declan Barrett and Thomas Ron are your top 5 for the moment, 25.6s. So again, the elimination time for Q1 was in the 25.6s, so that gives you an indication. But of course, we had some guys who did, of course, invalidate their times, but they will be able to bolt on a new set of tyres and go again. But it just means that they don't have that first lap under their belts. Not ideal for them either. But we'll see. 10 minutes left on the clock. You can expect some guys out on new tyres in a few moments.
Certainly will. Countdown's already, folks. Also, why not leave a like and also leave a subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. We are, of course, live both on Twitch and YouTube right now, so make sure you show your support. If you're watching us on Twitch, big hello. Be sure to leave a follow as well. It would be much appreciated. Brendan Lee coming into the pits. 2017 F1 Sim Racing champion. He would follow it up in 2018 also for Mercedes, something that both he and Jarno Wattmeer have in common, but has now since come across to Kick Sauber after also driving for Ferrari. He's almost driven for every team on the grid, pretty much, Jack, but he's still got a few that he can visit, but nevertheless, nice to see that he still holds on to the talent that he has had ever since the F1 Sim Racing Championship began, really, becoming its very first champion. And also not forgetting as well, becoming champion twice. It's very tough, especially when eras impact game releases, because you tend to find different changes come into play. Certain drivers favour different platforms, and I think we've seen that consistently, having many occasions where drivers have won 2 championships and then not won it again.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's again what impresses me about seeing the same names up towards the top of the timing sheets each year, because to keep that consistency of being one of the best in the world and continue to hold your place, because again, you're never guaranteed a spot on the F1 Sim Racing grid. So to keep performing to that level, I mean, he's among guys like you mentioned Brendan Lee, you've mentioned again Jarno's been there for a long, long time. Shanika Clay as well, he's been there a long time too. So there's plenty of guys who've been around since the beginning. Fabrizio Donoso again, you remember Fabrizio fought Brendan Lee for the first title back in 2017. So these guys are consistently in that area and continue to perform, and it's great to see them up towards the front end, even for our nostalgia's sake, to see them up at the top of the order each time. And we always like to see, in a way, it's not a bad thing, but you see a dip in form, but to see these guys come back again and find the form that they used to have, it's great to see.
Yeah, it certainly is. We've got Benham now making his way around the final corner to begin his flying lap, and then he'll send it through towards turn 1 and needs to try and put a hustle in. Obviously doesn't want to leave himself in danger, but this time staying in P15 will not help him. He needs to try and stay above 10th place, either on or above 10th place, to qualify for the shootout that we have coming up in Q3, as he now sends it down the Wellington Straight. Beating back Ismail Fassi, we said, to race victory here last time out. Still stays with Mercedes, teaming up alongside Danny Berejnay. First sector looks very strong, a 27.422, but by no means the fastest that we have seen already. 27.294 in the first sector in his last fastest lap. Brendan Lee, who currently holds the top time. So it's all got to come out of sector 2 as well as sector 3 here for Jake Benham, as he now flies through the left and right, as he now waits to send it down the hangar straight with our clock maximum speeds here. This will of course be a DRS detection point, as you can see. Benham opening up that rear wing, and now through towards Stowe, trying to just clip the curb on the right hand side, and now heading down through towards Vale and the club corner. What can Jake Benham muster? He's gone purple in the second sector with a 34.966, coming through the final bend, now across the line, fastest for Jake Benham. That's more like it, Jack Cadan.
Really is. 25.3. Barry Borman next across the line. See what he's going to be capable of on those new Softs 25.4.0, half a tenth behind as he came across there. Jack West slots into third now on those tires. Shanaka Clay goes to the top now by 0.02 of a second. 25.33 for the Englishman. He's been on a good run of form as well at the start of season. Danny Berezne as well in there, 25.3. So the times are starting to drop now. Now we're starting to get a better idea. 25.3 for Ishmael Fassi as well. So you can imagine the end of this qualifying session is going to be very, very tight if guys continue to improve. Lucas Blakely next across the line. He goes at 25.5 on his lap. He's going to probably need an improvement. He'll definitely need to go again on that. May not be safe. Tom Manley, though, finds a whole tenth of a second and goes to 25.2.
Yeah, the young 19-year-old going to the top. And we've got to talk about Shanaka Clay as well, a former winner here in PSGL at Silverstone too. Follows in the trends of Jake Benham and Lucas Blakely as Thomas Ronha goes fastest alike with a 125.186, and that brought him, or should I say the two purple sectors brought him to the top in Sector 2 and Sector 3 as Tom Manley is sunk down to second, 34.886 in Sector 2, followed up with a Sector 3 time of a 23.091. Perhaps it was the case, Jack, that some of the guys just went out a little bit too early.
Yeah, it could be 25.186 for Ronnar. You'd imagine he's probably going to be safe on that. Well, we'll see how that goes. But as I said, it's going to be incredibly tight to get through into Q3 because you can see Shanaka Clay, Jake Benham, Danny Berezne, Brendan Lee, Ishmael Fassi, Declan Barrett. They're all on a 25.3. So even the smallest of an improvement could rocket you up about 5 positions. Barry Borman's also there on that 25.40 is currently the cutoff. So we'll see if they do manage to find improvements. But you would imagine if guys like Otis Lawrence, Tom Manley are finding that 25.2, you would imagine that guys like Barry Borman, Jarno Watmere, Lucas Blakely have got that time in them.
Yeah, you would have expected so. It's still early doors, 4 minutes to go here in Q2. Remember, the bottom 5 will be eliminated. And as it stands, those that will be eliminated are Jarno Watmere, Tamas Gal, Lucas Blakely, Jack West and Wilson Hughes, which would be a disaster for McLaren, Jack. Lucas Blakely and Wilson Hughes out in Q2 if it stays like this.
Again, yeah, of course, if it does stay like this, but I can't imagine it will. But we've seen shocks like that before in previous times. Of course, Lucas Blakely is leading championship. Different, and the point system is slightly different here at PSGL. 16 points for a victory here at PSGL keeps things nice and close throughout the season. But you can see Lucas Blakely and Wilson Hughes pressure on now. Both of them are on a 25.5. They need to find at least 2.5 to 0.3 of a second to guarantee their safe passage into Q3.
Yep, they certainly do. 3 minutes now and counting, everybody. Looking forward to this. Thomas Ronha still sits at the very top. Who do you think's going to go fastest, chap? We want to hear from you. Let us know. Danny Berejne has already made his way out onto the track. A sea of cars, in fact, heading out onto the circuit. But Berejne, by a convincing margin, his last lap of 125.363. And it was a great lap at that as well. Declan Barrett, interestingly enough, Jack, still holds the purple first sector, despite being all the way down in 9th place. So that is still, I would say, up for grabs. He's managed an Esselino 27.143, which is sensational. No one's really touching that. In fact, he's one of, I would say, 4 drivers that managed to register 27 ones in their last flying lap.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe he's got that car set up to really attack that first sector. But again, if he managed to hook up an entire lap together, I mean, it could be on for a really good one here. 25.395. He's certainly not safe on that, so we'll see. He's going to need an improvement on this lap. So every car out on the track from 4th down to 15th. Otis Lawrence, Tom Manley, Thomas Ronnar there. Well, Ronnar has decided to come out again, but we'll see if he actually manages to finish his lap or not. Otis Lawrence is also out on the circuit, and I believe, yes, every car is out on the circuit. Nobody feels safe at the moment out here. And then validation, if you're in that bottom 5, you get an invalidation, you are guaranteed to be exiting stage left here in Q2. So we'll see now. Danny Berezne is going to get us underway for the final runs in Q2. This is going to be very close, George.
It definitely is. Danny Berejne the first to cross the line and now heading in towards turn 1. as he now looks to register his fastest time. Needs to do it now with 1 minute and 12 to go. This is the last chance saloon for every driver out there on track. Many of them looking to drag themselves from the bottom 5. Jarno Otmir included, Tamas Gal, Lucas Blakely, 2 former champions, currently sit in the drop zone. And could you imagine the drama that could ensue in the dying moments here in Q2? Let's find out. Danny Berejnay making his way through out of left field. Oh, a little shake of the tail there for Berejnay. Now, is that going to cost him a little bit of time? We will find out. The first sector isn't bad though. 27.173 comes through Copse Corner, and now a trip in towards Maggots and Beckett's. Can he hold it together as he now breezes on through? Jake Benham registering a 27.235 in Sector 1, which is slower than Danny Berejnay as they now head down the straight here this time at Hangar. Yet again, DRS detection point, so the rear wing opens up to allow Berejnay to then send it through towards this right-hander at Stowe once more. And now down Vale in towards the club corner. Where is he going to line up? It's green in both sectors. A little twitch, though, coming out of the final 2 bends now. Where is Berejnay going to go? Only enough for 4th fastest. That is not really ideal for the Hungarian, but Jake Benham looking to follow suit. Shanaka Clay finishes in 4th fastest. Benham goes 2nd. Great lap there for young Jake Benham. A sea of cars also coming through with Lucas Blakely being one of the McLarens. Wilson Hughes is out. 15th fastest. Jack West is out. Blakely's out. McLaren with both cars out of the session, Jack. Drama as Tamas Gal invalidates here and is also out.
That is big drama. Lucas Blakely exits in Q2, 25.44.
Burmand!
And Burmand's also now on the cusp as well, and he's invalidated. He's actually made a mistake on his lap, so Burmand's going to exit in Q2 as well. What a shocker of a qualifying for these 3. Barry Burmand, Lucas Blakely, both out of qualifying here in Silverstone. Huge mountain of work for them to do as well. So as you can see, Thomas Ronnar goes quickest again, 25.122. But Barry Burmand, Lucas Blakely, big shock exits here in Q2. We said that we would see some shocks today, and we certainly have. So as you can see, those 2 are out. Otmir's through. Brendan Lee gets through into Q3, but they will be absolutely shocked at that. I think Barry Burmand as well will be annoyed with himself. P11, he will start, and Lucas Blakely starting P12, leading the championship. Not what you would have wanted.
No, and what did I say, Jack? If the bottom 5 remain, they could be out of qualifying. And 2 big heads, 2 of them former PSGL champions, 1 of them a former F1 Sim Racing World Champion. We say goodbye to Barry Burmand and Lucas Blakely, former teammates at McLaren, believe it or not. Tamas Gal, Jack West and Wilson Hughes, also a McLaren driver, out of qualifying. But fastest in all this is Thomas Ronnar, with Manley 2nd, Jake Benham in 3rd, Lawrence Fassi, Otmir Clay, Berejnay, Lee and Declan Barrett. What an effort from young Declan Barrett. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to applaud the young man, but I think probably the story on everyone's mind is the fact that we've got 2 PSGL champions out of qualifying at Q2.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, isn't it? But and 2 of them former teammates, like you said as well. Blakely, of course, the championship leader going into this one again with a long season ahead. A long season.
Absolutely.
But again, not something that he would have wanted to start off this season by. I mean, winning straight away in Bahrain and then exiting in Q2 in round number 2. But then again, that's the ups and downs of this season as well. But again, other drivers will be very happy. Declan Barrett, one of them, we mentioned him. He's made a Q3 appearance here, and in a grid this stack is really, really good. Otmir getting himself through as well. Brendan Lee is through as well. I think there's a really strong contingent of British drivers in this Q3, I have to say.
Yeah, I think so. But we look back, and there's been a history of strong British drivers, I think, here in PSGL. We've looked at this race alone. I mean, Jake Benham being one of them. He was a winner last time. Blakely, Shanaka Clay. I mean, we have lost Blakely now, but we do have 2 former winners here now in this very session. Of course, Benham being one of them, Clay being the other. So already the drama's kicking off now, folks. Now it's time that we ask you guys at home what you think. Obviously, we're looking ahead now to Q3. This is the shootout. This is all about pole position. Who do you think is going to take it? Let us know in the live chat. We'll read out your comments. Jack, where do you see this one going?
I think I'm going to predict say Ron Har pole position looks the strongest, seems to have a little bit more pace, but I think it's going to be a Ron Har Manley front row is what I'm going to go with today.
Well, I wouldn't say you'd necessarily be wrong with that. His form has been pretty good, and I would say anyone with his quality, I think, has every chance. I've already got comments here. Simpel saying Otis Lawrence. Again, another one with a great opportunity here. Wobble J Gaming saying Benham. Otmir says Ivan, F1 fan. Keep it coming, everybody. We want to hear from you. We've got comments here across from Twitch or YouTube. Danny Berejne says Striker 926. So we're getting a nice plethora of drivers. I think the great thing about this season, Jack, because the door is so wide open this season, we get so many different drivers being predicted because the grid is just too close. It's closer than it's been ever in the past. And I think the F1 Sim Racing World Championship last time, just look at the floods of names here. We've got Tom Manley as well, Jarno Baby says Clean Culture, Lucas, Ron Har, Fassi, Leroy Brown even gets a tip. Obviously, those of you who watch Xbox probably would know a little bit more about him. We've got a big shout for Jake Benham, says Jack Ledford as well. Yeah, incredible. Rooting for Jake, Angela Regal. I'll back Jake, says Bertie Rayland. Not Jarno, because he's out of fresh tyres, says Simple. Well, he's put a little bit of chess play into his decision there.
Certainly has. Yeah, someone's predicting me for pole position. That's just true. That's absolutely valid.
I believe in it, Jack. I believe in it.
The only reason that I'm not on the grid is that I beat everybody by a whole second. So that's just, that's just how it is. It's just fair. That's not true at all. They'd beat me by about 2 seconds a lap around here. Yeah, plenty of position. And that's what, you make the point that there's so many predictions because really anybody who makes it through the Q3 at this level is capable of getting pole position, and they've got the capabilities to do that. So it could be anybody's game going into this Q3 session here at Silverstone, and we could be for a surprise. We don't know. But currently, Ron Har, it looks like the strongest out there to me. It was in the low 25.1s in the previous run. The only person who managed to get close to him was Tom Manley. He was the only other driver on a 25.1. So I'm expecting that we're going to dip into those zeros. And possibly, you never know, if somebody hooks up an incredible lap, we could end up dipping into the 24s on this lap. That would require a serious lap there. But we'll see what pole position is going to give us, what this shootout is going to give us. They're going to probably get about 2 attempts to run at this. Otis Lawrence will get us underway in a few moments' time. But again, like I said, it's literally anybody's game.
Yeah, Otis Lawrence, many consider him a prodigy from South Wales, a young man who's looking to follow in the footsteps of fellow Welshman Josh Edo, who was racing at Red Bull last season, has now left the Red Bull outfit, racing in Alpine here in PSGL at the moment too, and also has been working hard at the Enstone factory, as we have seen on social media in the past. Otis Lawrence, though, will be looking to try and get a seat for himself, but is painting a rather glorious picture for it right now as he makes his way through Loop Corner, and now a trip out of Aintree down the Wellington Straight. And what an occasion it would be if we could see a 4th British driver go ahead to take yet another victory. And Otis could be that young man to contend for it. Jake Benham still in this session, still many open doors here, and of course Shanaka Clay, a former winner around here, Brendan Lee alike. Could we see, though, somebody totally different? Will Ishmael Fassi come back after narrowly missing out last season to potentially take the race victory? Otis Lawrence now hurtling through the next right-hander out of Cops. I can tell you he was fastest in the first sector with a 27.139. No one could really get close to him on that. The closest, in fact, is Jarno Otmir, who sits at the top. He registered a 27.156. And Declan Barrett registering a 27.169. It's purple again, as you'd expect, here for Otis, coming out of Sector 2. The question is, though, what does Sector 3 look like here for the young driver? As he now hustles down in towards the next left. Only a handful of corners still to go. And he'll venture around the final right-hander this time. Where is Otis Lawrence going to go? Where is he going to send it? A 125.136. And that's not a bad one to start with, Jack. But I think there's more in that.
There is, but it's really on the pace. So again, the fastest time in Q2 was a 25.133. So we're in the money already with Otis Lawrence, 25.13. That's very, very competitive. So let's see how anybody else matches up to that. Ishmael Fassi, 25.2. Let's see as more cars cross the line. Ron Har next to cross the line. Where does he go? 25.0
yes.
Goes to the top. So that is the level we're talking about. Thomas Ronnar sets the benchmark initially, 25.083. That is the marker laid down by the Dutchman.
Yeah, Declan Barrett's coming up next. He's going to be the last one to set his lap. 27.156 is right in the ballpark. It's faster than Ronha in the first sector, and he's not far off in sector 2 either. Goes third fastest, Declan Barrett. One of the young hopefuls coming through, and I must say, is stamping his authority in amongst an experienced grid here at this level, and he's gone higher than the likes of Fassi, Manley, Clay, Otmir, Berejnay, Lee and Benham. He's gone faster than two-time world champions here in this session alone, so already opening his account in the strongest of fashion. So he would have actually banked on that hotter track, that better temperature, though you've still got to lay it all out there. And I must say, this is a fantastic way to start Q3 for Declan Barrett, but Ronha, unbelievable. The only driver to set a 1:25.0.
It is, yeah, and I can imagine that a few drivers there would have been on used tyres. Guys like Brendan Lee, Danny Berejnay, Jarno Watmir, Shanaka Clay possibly as well, would have been on those used set of tyres, because you can see that's quite a substantial gap when you look at 25.3 to 25.0. You would imagine that there's plenty more time in that, but that is a big marker laid down by Ronnar. He'll be very pleased with that. That sort of takes a little bit of pressure off. He's got a really strong time on the board now on his first run, and it gives him a chance to push and go again if he's got another set of tyres to use as well. So we'll see how this goes, but this battle for pole is not over yet, because we still have guys who haven't used that new set of tyres yet. So this is going to be a very, very interesting end to qualifying here at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. But it's looking likely that it could be a Ronnar pole position, or could we see somebody else steal it with a magical last lap as we've seen previously. With 3 minutes to go, the calm before the storm.
Certainly is. And if you take a look at some of the time gaps as well, everybody. 53 thousandths between Otis Lawrence and the man on top, Thomas Ronha. So if you've had your money on Ronha, or if you've had your money on Otis Lawrence, you've got every reason to be confident. But Declan Barrett, probably the kryptonite for anyone's prediction here right now. Third fastest, fairly new to this level of racing as well at this higher order. Looking for that F1 esports seat, much like the likes of Jack West and many others that are fighting for a seat here in this very competitive championship. Ismail Fassi, fourth fastest. I would say Fassi showing what we have come to expect, I think, from a driver of his caliber, Jack, because he really came of age in the Sim Racing World Championship.
He certainly did. He's got a lot of confidence now off the back of that, and he'll be looking to put that experience to good use here in PSGL, of course. And alongside Alvaro Carreton, Carreton has not made it as far as he has. He's already staking his authority there, and Jake Benham will lead all the cars out onto the final lap, final qualifying lap, that is, to see if he can get himself pole position. He'll have a new set of tyres on now. 25.6 is absolutely unused tyres, as you would expect. So Jake Benham trying to get himself back on the winner's step here at Silverstone, if he can possibly do it. And behind him, Danny Berejnay, of course, these two teammates at Mercedes, and they'll be looking to again put a championship charge on here between these two. But Jake Benham, I think he'll feel like he's got a lot of pace. Again, we heard in his VT cutaway that they've been trying to get qualifying back on formula. He called it their Achilles heel in previous years, so we'll see if he can do it. Yeah,
I think so. This could be a huge statement of intent here from Jake Benham. Of course, looking to try and clamber up the order, maybe even going back-to-back with race wins, which we've yet to see here at Silverstone in PSGL. Keep your comments coming in, guys. Want to hear from you. One last call for predictions here for pole position here in qualifying Q3. We're about to get this shootout well and truly underway. It's going to be over as quick as a flash. We're into the final minute and a half right now. Thomas Ronha sits on top with a 25.083. Otis Lawrence in second. Declan Barrett in third place. Ismail Fassi fourth. Jake Benham now looking to cross the line and get us underway here at the tail end of qualifying on a flying lap. Let's see what the All-Star can do. Coming through turn one, he's looking dialed in, heading down into the braking zone before venturing into the very, very stiff right-hander before through the loop he goes in towards Aintree. I'm already seeing Ronha pole from SMD CUO Live, as well as Slevin Kelevera, as well with Otis. Danny says Striker, Tom says Vipil Abhas, Declan says Phoenix Silver. There's now Benham, pirouettes through Luffield and Brooklands here, Jack.
Yeah, looking good so far. Now, looking at the exit of Brooklyn, is looking to try and kind of straighten the line on the exit of the corner. Now, keeping an eye on that sector split as he heads up now towards Cop's corner. He's got to be brave through here now as he heads and chucks it in 305 kilometers per hour as he turns the wheel in, crossing over the sector 2 split now in just a few seconds' time. We'll get an indication how much he's up on his previous time. Remember, it's a 25.6 was his previous time, and he'll be wanting for a big improvement here. Margaret Beckett again, the rear end stepping out on him as he comes through these 0.2 of a second up to an almost 0.3 of a second up, so it's a big improvement so far, and that's just in the middle sector alone. So he'll need a big improvement in this final sector now, but it's looking tidy for Jake Bennett. He's really throwing this car around.
He certainly is, coming in towards the club corner this time. 27.184 in the first sector, 34.970 in sector 2. Now across the line, he will go only enough for 7th fastest. It will not be a fastest lap here for young Jake Benham. Danny Berejne, though his Mercedes teammate might, he certainly will.
Wow.
A 25.081, 2,000ths difference there between he and Thomas Ronha, who is still yet to set his lap. Otis Lawrence, 3rd fastest for now. The young Welshman looking to go higher. He does, a 24.968. Sensational lap there from him. Jarno Opmeer around the corner as well. 4th fastest for the Flying Dutchman, with now more and more cars coming through. Declan Barrett has invalidated his run. Unfortunately, Brendan Lee is just behind him. Shanaka Clay, 5th fastest. Tom Manley goes up to 6th. Brendan Lee coming through the final bend this time around. 2-time champion cannot ascend to the top. 9th fastest. Otis Lawrence. Was it Ronha though? Late in the day.
It wasn't. He's been beaten. So Otis Lawrence is on pole. How about that? What a performance. And he was beaten by just a couple of hundredths of a second, as you'll see now as we get to the results screen. 700ths of a second. But what a lap from Otis Lawrence. 24.96.
That is absolutely scintillating. From young Welshman Otis Gotis Lawrence, 73,000ths clear of Thomas Ronha in 2nd place. The only man to set a 124.968. That is sensational. Danny Berejne in 3rd, Jarno Opmeer in 4th, Shanaka Clay in 5th, Tom Manley in 6th, Ishmael Fassi 7th, Declan Barrett in 8th, Brendan Lee 9th, Jake Benham in 10th place. Incredible, folks. Sensational to watch. We'll be right back, though, after a quick break. Well, welcome back, folks. Take a breather. The young 16-year-old has done it again, Jack Cannan. Otis Lawrence, fastest in qualifying, the only driver to set an incredible 124.968, and that was 73,000ths faster than Thomas Ronha at the very end.
Yeah, what a lap. I mean, even 700ths at this level is quite a substantial gap, so that must have been an absolutely perfect lap that he managed to put together there for Otis Lawrence. Of course, keep in mind as well, we have to do a full lobby reset, of course, set the grid as per normal. But of course, what I will say is if the weather stays the same, we could be in for an interesting one.
We could be in for a real treat. I mean, I must say, a lot of the big names at the very top as well. I mean, respectable qualifying for Jarno Opmeer as well. You know, we be foolish to take anything from qualifying as gospel here at Silverstone. As we've said before, only once has the pole sitter gone on to take a race win. For the rest, not winning at all. So I suppose that's the one thing, if you're a Jarno Opmeer fan, that's the one thing you've got in your corner, is the fact that the pole sitter very rarely wins.
Yeah, that's very true. So then again, that could have been maybe Thomas Ronha heard us, and he's like, okay, I'm going to back off slightly and start P2. So P2 is where you want to be, clearly from previous years. But again, it's all about braking stats as well. So I can see if Otis Lawrence can do that. But if we have the weather that we've just seen, this could totally shake things up. Because remember as well, we've got Otis Lawrence starting P1, of course. Jarno Opmeer starting 4th. Keep in mind as well, we've got Barry Borman and Lucas Blakely starting 11th and 12th down the grid as well, which makes things interesting. So this could be a bit of a crazy one if if the weather stays the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely right. We'll take you through the track map just to visit it again, show you guys where the DRS detection points are. Obviously, the key areas are heading down Wellington, coming through the first sector in towards Sector 2, and at Turn 5 at Aintree is where you will be able to open up that rear wing, heading down towards Turn 6 at Brooklands, and then a visit through Luffield. You'll have a few more corners to take. Of course, Maggots and Beckett's being the more notorious ones. The chicanes, the series of chicanes, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14 out of Chapel will send you down the Hanger Straight, where you'll then once more open up that DRS, and then through Stowe, and then ending the lap. But lots of opportunities here for overtaking. Jack, Silverstone has, such wide areas, especially down those straights. Wellington, it gets, quite wide coming out of Aintree in the loop, where things can get, tight. Not necessarily the circuit itself, but the racing line does. But as soon as you open up down Wellington, the doors do open for you, much like the Hanger Straight does.
Does, yeah. You can see it can get a little bit tight for space going onto the Wellington Straight there. We've seen cars getting pinched on the entry into the Wellington Straight before heading down into the next corner. So we'll see driving possibly being a bit careful, and remember as well, it's a DRS section straight after there as well, so it'll have to be patient as they head down into that section. Of course, as well, I know a lot of you are curious as to what the weather was. I can tell you that it wasn't just intermediate, it was completely pouring with rain in British fashion that when we joined the grid last time with a full wet condition. So possibly we could see that, and of course some drivers might have more of a setup that's more inclined to the wet, so we'll see if that goes in their favor. But again, the weather might not necessarily stay the same in this lobby either, but if it does, we're going to be in for a very intriguing race, because we all love a wet to dry race, because it really throws the spanner up.
It opens doors strategically, it has to be said. We can take a look as well at the driver standings before coming into tonight. A little reminder, after what we saw at Bahrain, that of course Lucas Blakely is our current championship leader, 16 points to his name for taking the victory. Brendan Lee finishing in second. Alvaro Caraton last time out finishing third, with Williams sitting top of the tree in the team standings. But like we said, all this could change after tonight as we await to go racing here at Silverstone. But yeah, many names will be looking to try and bolster themselves higher. Rasmussen, I can think of. I mean, Rasmussen only really has one direction at this point, Jack. He's started from the back. He's got that penalty. Obviously, could not take part in qualifying, much like his former teammate Josh Edu. Of course, both of them together at Red Bull last season, but both facing the qualifying ban here for this very round. They've only got one way to go, haven't they? And it's up.
Yeah, that's it. So the two of them are obviously on the back row of the grid. So they've now, of course, the wet conditions could give them a bit more opportunity to come through, but it may give them less opportunity to come through as well, because if everybody's on the same wet tires and the conditions don't really change, it doesn't really give them that many options strategically. So we'll see how that goes. But there will be plenty. There will be other opportunities, of course, but if it is full wet, they're just going to have to make some brave overtakes and see what happens in that regard. So we will get an indication of the weather very soon. We're just waiting for one more driver, I think, to make their way into the lobby at the moment, and then we'll be able to get underway. It is straight into the race. No delays around here, of course. No waiting around. So this race start will happen very, very quickly. Of course, we've had so many seasons where this has been the case that we're kind of used to it now.
Yeah, we are. I would say that's a very fair sentiment here at this stage. But we'll look ahead, obviously, to once more a sensational race. We tend to get a lot of them here at PSGL. It has been sensational to obviously watch everything unfold since Bahrain opened up our account. We can also have a little quick reminder as to the season's calendar. We did, of course, go racing at Bahrain last time out. We're here at Britain this time. August 21st, we head to Japan at Suzuka, and then Jeddah to the Corniche at August 28th, then Belgium on September 4th for round 5, and then Mexico on September the 11th for round 6, Austria for September the 18th, round 7, Qatar on September the 25th at Losail, that's round 8, round 9 takes us to Vegas on October 2nd, round 10 to Texas on October 9th, and then Brazil on October 16th, with the grand finale in Abu Dhabi on October 23rd for round 12. So lots there to look forward to. Big thank you to Mikhail Kotarziak as well for the 10 Polish currency. Really appreciate it, my friend. Can't wait for this race, he says. Enjoy, everyone. We'll enjoy it. Hope you guys all in the live chat are enjoying this too. A quick reminder that you can, of course, check out PSGL. Check out PSGL on the regular social media networks at Premier Sim GL on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And also, if you've been tuned in on YouTube, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you've been tuned in on Twitch, big warm welcome to you guys as well. A fairly new platform for us over there. Hit that follow button and stay up to date. And if you've enjoyed me and Jack as well, our socials are down below. We'll give you a reminder just before we go off air. But a big thank you to all of you for tuning in. Season 37. I can't believe we're here already, Jack. It is sensational, really. I mean, I look back. Can you believe season 27 was when we first started doing this?
Making us feel old now. Yeah, season 27. What a season that was as well. We think back, even just looking back, trying to think of who was in what team at that. We think back to that point. Jarno and Barry were teammates. That's how far back we're going to when they were in Alfa Romeo as well.
Well, I get the feeling that Jarno had only really commenced his Mercedes career at that point in season 27.
He had, yeah. So it was kind of, he sort of changed into the Mercedes midway through that season, which was great to watch. But yeah, a lot of memories have been made since then as incredible races. But here we are, we're still here, still going, and somehow we're still not fired. What's happening?
How are we not fired, everybody? But yeah, no, we're still here, guys. We're still here. We're just waiting for the lobby now to go live and ready. As you can see, we're loading in to this session. Obviously, we don't have a formation lap here in PSGL, so naturally we have to go off the timer. So I don't want to miss a thing for you guys at home as we await the lights. But let us know in the live chat who you think is going to win the PSGL Season 37 PCF1 British Grand Prix. Big shout out as well to our proud partners at SRC and also GT Omega as well, our title sponsor. Great to have both of them with us. And the rain is still cascading down, Jack Canan. A twist in the tail here tonight.
Oh, full wet conditions as well. Classic British weather to help us with this as well. This is going to be very, very interesting. And I've seen plenty of people now saying Jarno's going to win. It's wet. So we'll see what happens.
Listen,
well, you don't know.
He is king of the wet, Jack. He's king of the wet. So they say.
So they say, but maybe there's a new king in waiting. We'll see. Of course, we've got Thomas Ronnar starting P2. Otis Lawrence is on pole position as well. Let's not forget. So there's still plenty to happen. Barry and Lucas starting 11th and 12th respectively as well. Plenty of opportunities for these guys to come through. But of course, we don't really know how the rain is going to progress in the session. We're not sure if it's going to dry up at any point. We hope it does, because that will give us a really entertaining end to the race. But for the moment, looks like we're starting in full wet torrential rain conditions, which of course some drivers will hate to see, because getting off the line in full wet tyres is not easy.
It's a bit of a battle, and naturally you've got concerns with the rear end stepping out. We do see that from time to time. The first sector is ruthless, very technical, and the latter stages of Sector 3 you've got to be wary of. Maggots and Beckett's is going to be something else as well. So very interesting. I'm seeing the comments in the live chat already. Blake Ellenwood saying Jarno or Danny. We got Sam Palmer saying Jarno. Paul Park saying you're going to win, Jack. And they could be right. At this stage, we'll wait and see.
I win by default.
Are you king of the wet, Jack?
No.
Are you a king of the wet?
I'm the king of all conditions. That's why I'm in here, because I just beat everybody.
Fantastic. Vipul Abbas is going for Rainmere. I'm guessing that's Otmere, for those of you looking for translations. JKLR saying Otis will win. There's a good chance he could. Could he become only the second driver to go from pole to victory? We will find out. And will he become our fourth our fourth consecutive British winner here at the British Grand Prix? So we'll wait and see. Alex Dillon will win. I can tell you, Alex Gillen is not here tonight. Max Verstappen, he's not racing tonight either, unfortunately. But yeah, we're going to be in for a treat, folks. The rain cascading down in what could be mixed conditions here tonight. Real LTE CTV saying, I have to back up Otis here. Such a great prodigy, that kid. I hope he goes far. I could not agree with you any more than I already do, my friend. Jarno will win, says Wellington Augustin Francisco. Harvey Cowan saying, do love seeing it rain. We do too. Now, as all the lights get lit here at Silverstone. It's pedal to the metal. And it is go, 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 go. Great start for Otis Lawrence in the wet. Danny Berejnay got the jump though on Thomas Ronha as they head through turn 1, through turn 2. Contact between them as well. Berejnay trying to batter off Thomas Ronha, but Ronha with the inside line coming through turns 2 and turn 3. Burremand, a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting, and Berejnay managed to get Ronha right to the start. Otmier's on the move, Jack Cannan.
Yeah, Barry's had a shocker of a start. He's 18th already. Otis nailed the start. So much wheel spin for Thomas Ronha straight off the grid, and Berejnay jumps him. Blakely on the move now up to P11, trying to make ground here as they all spread out looking for grip in these wet conditions. Blakely around the outside of Tamas Gal as he tries to follow Jake Benham in front of him now, exiting through up towards Copse Corner for the first time now. Declan Barrett trying to stay in front of Jake Benham here as they come down towards Copse now. As I can see, is Declan Barrett on the intermediate tyres? He is. Declan Barrett's on intermediates, and you've got guys on full wet tyres behind as well. There's been total mix-ups here.
Yeah, split strategies. And I'm looking at my radar. The rain actually falls off towards the end of this ring. An occurrence of dry conditions. Blakely going for the move though, coming through Maggots and Beckett's wheel to wheel here with young Jake Benham, and this is a battle over P10 here at this point. Blakely getting Benham here in this fight, but there's still more to come as Declan Barrett is now under attack. Here comes Blakely around the outside, coming through Stowe Corner as they now beckon their way down towards the tricky club section alike. It gets technical once more, but Declan Barrett did so well to keep Blakely down in 10th.
Yeah, this is interesting, isn't it? Mixed strategies, inters versus full wets. Jarno Otmier on the attack on Ronhar now as they head up through turn number 1 now. Who's on the better tyre at this point? We'll see now. The wets look like they're really sliding all over the place. Declan Barrett round the outside of Ishmael Fassi in the first corner. Blakely up the inside. Can't get the car stopped. He has to open the steering. Fassi trying to fight him as they head through turn number 2 now. Blakely with the grip on the outside. It looks like the intermediate tyres could have been the call to make as they're side by side coming onto the Wellington straight. They just about get through there as they fight for more position. Otmir now at the same time is side by side with Ronhar as they head through Brooklands. Has he got more grip on those intermediate tyres versus the full wets? He's keeping his nose in there as they exit through Brooklands. He leaves him just enough space as they go side by side now towards Copse Corner. Who's going to be bravest now? Ronhar trying to hold his nose in, but he backs out of it. Otmir now up to P3. Looks like the intermediates are the ones to be on at this point.
Yeah, they definitely look like the faster tyre. Jarno Otmir getting the upper hand on fellow Dutch driver Thomas Ronhar, who is now down into 4th. Lucas Blakely has been on the attack. Rasmussen has gone up 2 places. He's managed to usurp Tamas Gal and former teammate Josh Edu, who's having all sorts of problems because he's got Tamas Gal all over him, as well as Istvan Pukki. Gal has fallen down once again. Barry Burremand with his penalty, now up to 14th after cutting the corner at the very start of the race. Pukki up to 16th. Chaos ensues coming through Stowe as they now head down in towards Club, and Tamas Gal just getting ahead of Alvaro Caraton, but there's still plenty more to come. Jack West looking to stick his oar in all of this too.
Yeah, this is exactly what Rasmussen needs to do. Go different on the strategy. He's up 6 places already and trying to now get up the inside of Wilson Hughes towards turn 1. There's a bit of a scrap going on behind as well as Edo goes through. Tamas Gal goes now trying to fight off multiple cars behind him at the same time. So plenty going on here, but it's inters versus wet tyres at the moment. Blakely making the good call. He's now up behind Declan Barrett, and more drivers making ground behind. Wilson Hughes is on the inters as well, so Rasmussen now trying to stick with him. Barry though really all over his rear as they head down towards into Brooklands corner now. Barry of course with the penalty, but of course you would imagine that might get removed later on because it did seem like it was a bit of a harsh penalty. He might have got shuffled wide in that first quarter and picked up a track extension.
Yeah, already picking up 3 warnings off the back of that one incident alone. That is painstaking for Barry Burremand, for someone who started growing up keen into football and basketball, but racing was his forte. So he said became a national karting champion 6 times over. Blakely now moving up to 8th, also a real-life racer, to winning in the GB3 Championship. He's now broken ahead of Declan Barrett and is on the hunt after Brendan Lee. 2 champions could yet collide. 2 British champions in tow as well. Shanaka Clay being moved up on this time by Brendan Lee as now Otmir moves alongside teammate Danny Berejnay. Otmir up to 2nd. Brendan Lee also managing to get ahead of Shanaka Clay. And here comes now Lucas Blakely up the inside at Club Corner. They're going to run wheel to wheel in the final couple of corners coming out of lap 3 in towards lap 4. Blakely with a fantastic move around the outside as Jarno Opmeer takes the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, the guys at the intermediates are absolutely flying. Here comes Jarno already up the inside of Otis Lawrence. The grip's just gone on the full wets, and Jarno now leads the British Grand Prix on lap number 4 as Danny Beresnay tries to follow, trying to go through into the next part of the corner. Manley trying to follow as well, but Jarno on the attack already. Shanaka Clay and Declan Barrett now going at it behind him. Declan Barrett moves up to P8 now. Blakely on the attack on Brendan Lee. There's so much going on. He's getting the squeeze put on it by Brendan Lee as they headed to Brooklyn's corner, but nothing you can do about that. Blakely slots up the inside into P6, but it's Jarno Opmeer in the lead and now starting to gap Otis Lawrence already.
Yeah, watching from Declan Barrett's POV right now, and you know, just seeing that move happen for Blakely was sensational. What a rise he has had. Obviously he had to start where he did and had to work for it as well. It's been a very tough start. Wilson Hughes has also had a blissful run, also got evicted the same during the same window as teammate Lucas Blakely, but now he's the Minister of Defence here at this point because he's got a string of cars queuing up to attack him, including long-time friend Jake Benham, who is looking to try and raise the stakes here in this dogged fight. They're 2.7 seconds away from Shanaka Clay right now, but look at this. Freddie Rasmussen is also in this too, as now Benham swaps to the inside coming through Stowe. Rasmussen's got Burremand up in his rear too, and Burremand went for a very audacious move, and he's going to run wheel to wheel with the Great Dane. The Iranian around the outside as they come in towards Club Corner. That is another brave move there from Barry Burremand, as now they come through with contact now, as Josh Edo got the pair of them. Through goes Edo moment here at the PSGL British Grand Prix, bringing an end to lap 4.
Yeah, I could see that coming a mile away. Those two are scrapping so hard. Josh Edo just says, thank you very much, boys. Up the inside of both of them. Through goes Hamilton moment in the final corner as Rasmussen and Burremand decided to lock wheels going through that part of the corner. And Edo, the beneficiary, remember, he started on the last row of the grid, did Josh Edo. He's on the charge up through this order. You can see a couple of guys have bailed out of it, have decided to box onto the intermediates behind. Shanaka Clay coming out of the pit lane now. Ishmael Fassi also boxed onto a set of intermediates as well, but great stuff by Josh Edo. Picked his moment and made his way through into the next part of the corner. But Jordan, look at the gap. Jarno's only 2 seconds clear apart from everybody.
That is extraordinary. Nearly 2 seconds ahead of Otis Lawrence. A scintillating start, and obviously the intermediates really working for the Flying Dutchman, as we now ride on board with Tom Manley, who is following Danny Beresnay through the Magnussen-Beckett section. Beresnay looking the faster, but Manley, I would say, looking faster than them both right now on that green wall tyre as they head down in towards the Stowe corner. Beresnay fancying himself around the outside as they stretch now in towards Club, and Beresnay with the upper hand, but comes into the pits, Jack.
Yeah, and so that benefited Tom Manley very much as he got by the both of them at the one time. So now Tom Manley is now in second place in this Grand Prix, but Beresnay feeling that he's made the wrong choice on the tyres, and he now has to box onto a set of intermediate tyres. So Jarno Opmeer now in the lead. It's Tom Manley in second, and look at the job Lucas Blakely's done. He started 12th, now he's all the way up in third place. Back in the hunt is Lucas Blakely.
Yeah, Declan Barrett's also on the hunt as well. He's on intermediate tyres and has just taken down Brendan Lee. So it certainly does show that the Inters are on the rise. Barry Burremand has managed to displace Jake Benham, who is now down to 12th. This strategy just not working at all for any driver on the wets, as now Blakely goes on the attack here of young Otis Lawrence. So 2 drivers occupying the intermediate tyre alike now running wheel to wheel. Or should I say this is the fight between Blakely and Manley, I should say. Do apologise, everybody. Both drivers occupying the intermediate tyres coming out of Luffield and Brooklands, but Manley doing enough to hold on to second place. Blakely not able to get the jump on him, but getting that rear stepped out coming through Copse Corner, and has managed to find some momentum now as they hurtle in towards Magnussen-Beckett, and there's nothing that Manley can do about that because Blakely is now into second.
He is dancing with that car. Lucas Blakely is absolutely going for it on the intermediate tyres. He was completely sideways through Copse. That was insane to watch. But Lucas Blake Blakely's on top of this car, isn't he? Really throwing that car into each of the corners and just making sure that the rear is not stepping enough away from him, but he's setting it up perfectly. Now he's got to go on the chase of Jarno Wotmir up front, as we can see now. Declan Barrett has moved, or is now fighting with Thomas Ronnar for a moment, as Ronnar now boxes off of the wet tyres. He's going to have to come off them, and again, they made the wrong call, and unfortunately now they're going to have a lot of work to do to get up from the back. But Jarno Wotmir and Lucas Blakely are top two, Tom Manley in P3. Otis Lawrence now just needs to try and survive really on those wets for as long as he can. Declan Barrett in P5, Brendan Lee sticking with him, and then it's nearly 4 seconds back to Wilson Hughes, Josh Edo, Freddie Rasmussen and Barry Borman. It's a huge gap back as Wilson Hughes is desperately trying to hang on here as Josh Edo goes up his inside as they head into the Wellington Straight. Now who's got the better traction? Wilson Hughes just about. Remember, no DRS in effect in the wet conditions. He's on the defensive, he is on the intermediates on the same strategy, so can anybody make any sort of move here? Rasmussen thinking about it but decides not to and stays in front for the moment. So now we're going to see how this race unfolds, but I think it's now Otis Lawrence. He can't really afford to pit now because he's going to drop into a lot of traffic and needs to just hang on to those wets for as long as he can.
Yeah, I think so. Wilson Hughes has been defending this spot now for such a long time. Has had Josh Edo and Freddie Rasmussen right behind him consistently now over the last few laps. But now Edo might get the run heading in towards Maggots and Beckett's. Will he dare go for the move through this very treacherous section? Not this time, but you can just see how the curbs are playing into the car, starting to maneuver its way around the track under these slick tyre conditions. Obviously, we're starting to see a lot of aquaplaning out there. Declan Barrett losing the rear, just a little bit twitchy as he looks to try and keep Otis Lawrence in behind. And they've got Brendan Lee also queuing up for this one alike. I mean, if you're Otis Lawrence and Brendan Lee right now, Jack, they need rain and ASAP.
Yeah, they need more rain, or they need it to start drying up so they could try something else compared to the intermediate. Either way, ideally, yes, they need the rain to get heavier, but it doesn't look like it's going to do that at the moment. Josh Edo still trying to find a way past the Scotsman in front of him, Wilson Hughes, as he comes through turn one. Surely he's going to have an opportunity now. Wilson Hughes trying to close the door. Is there going to be enough room for Edo to go for it? He just about finds enough space on the inside.
Oh.
He's now going to try to go around the outside. Wilson Hughes goes back up the inside. Watch out for Rasmussen as he comes through. They lock wheels again on the exit. Now Freddie Rasmussen's going to take his opportunity. He might get the both of them. We are 3 wide as we head down into Brooklands. Rasmussen just about inside, decides to back out of it. He's got the inside on Edo as they head through into Brooklands. Edo trying to go around the outside. He's going to get the door shut on him there as they head into Brooklands now, still neck and neck as they exit onto the next part. Now Borman's decided he wants to join in on this as well on the inside of Rasmussen, but they sort themselves out back into a single file line, and Wilson Hughes is still just about hanging on, but Edo finally got his way through on the exit.
Fantastic battle between these four now. Barry Burman just waiting for his own opportunity right in the rear, and he's going to try now, wheel to wheel, heading through Maggots and Beckett. Burman makes contact with Rasmussen as they head on through. Can Rasmussen hold it together? He can, but he's lost the place against Barry Burman, the two greats in the F1 Sim Racing Championship. Freddie Rasmussen, who went runner-up 4 times consecutively up to 2022, would take his first title last season and is now on the inside through Stowe. Brilliant retaliation, brilliant show there from Freddie Rasmussen to rise to the occasion. 9th place now here on lap 9.
Yeah, really no holds barred stuff between Borman and Rasmussen. Now enter Tomek Paradzic, who fancies a bit of this as well. Otis Lawrence now has decided he's given up trying to hang on to those wet tyres. He's coming in for a pit stop to get rid of those wets and try to bolt on a set of intermediates and get through this next phase of the Grand Prix. Tomek Paradzic, though, looking pretty good there behind Barry Borman at the moment, but Rasmussen managing to just about keep Borman behind for the moment, as they did fight really hard to get through. Edo now trying to gap the car of Wilson Hughes behind him and try to close that gap to Brendan Lee, who's also the only car left out there on wet tyres at the moment, and he's actually not in too bad of a place right now. I know he's on the wrong tyre, but he hasn't gotten eaten up by the guys behind just yet. He's trying to hang on desperately, but you can see since the race started that rain has just got lighter and lighter, so he's just desperately trying to hang on for as long as he can.
Yeah, we've had a very dramatic decline in the wets, though it does say that we will be seeing it drop further. I've got a feeling, Jack, I think the rain is going to be staying with us. I just think, if anything, it's going to lessen. I think is more likely going to be the case. But Paradzic now very much a part of this scrap. and is hot on the heels of Barry Burraman. The Pole now looking to open the door, also a prodigy in his own right in years gone by, and representing the Veloce brand for so long. And now chasing down after Barry Burraman this time. He's going to open the door, heading through Club. A little bit of contact between the two once more, as now the Pole looks to go around the inside and manages to get the move done. But a little switchback here from Burraman on the escape, coming through the final corner as they look to rush down through towards turn one. He's managed to hold on to it, Paragis. Great move there from the youngster as he now heads through turn one.
Good job by Tomek Paradzic, as you can see, as he came through, formerly known as Veloce Hypers. You remember the Veloce days of Tomek Paradzic, now sliding his way through into the next part of the corner. And Jack West decides now he wants to get by the Iranian, sticks it up the inside as he heads through onto the Wellington straight now, trying to get himself into the points. This would be a good job from Jack West, reserving today, of course, and he gets the move done on Barry Burraman into the top 10. And a good move from Jack West, but Barry Burraman's not having it, sticks it back down the inside, and he goes back through again, not having any of that, and demotes him back to P11. What I can observe, George, at the moment is Lucas Blakely is on a bit of a charge and has brought that gap between himself and Otmir down to 2.3 seconds. That was over 3 seconds at one point. So Blakely pushing on a little bit here. You can see his target in front, and well, this would be a very entertaining fight, wouldn't it? Otmir versus Blakely. How many times have we seen that here before?
And it's always magic whenever we see it. And I tell you what, another driver to watch. Of course, he's already boxed. Danny Berejnay, technically your net leader. Of course, he's only 7.6 behind Jack West, the group we're currently watching right now. But not only is he 8/10 faster in the last lap than Jarno Otmir, our current race leader, but he is also just registered a purple first sector. As now we see Rasmussen up the inside at Stowe on Wilson Hughes. Finally manages to get past, following suit from Josh Edo. But as you can see, just look at how much it's cost him in that battle between Wilson Hughes. Remember, Edo so close to Rasmussen not too long ago. He's now got 1.3 seconds to find on the Welshman to get in proximity for another overtake.
Yeah, you can see how much he's reeled in Brendan Lee as well. That gap was a big old gap of about 3 to 4 seconds, and all of a sudden Josh Edo is almost now on the back of the Englishman. So Brendan Lee is just trying whatever he can and trying to keep those wet tyres alive, but you can see it's really starting to go the other way now. Those wets are 11 laps old. The rain is just getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and he's just doing his best to hang on to them. And of course, it's always those fine margins, making the choice at the start of the Grand Prix. Some went for the inters, some went for the wets. The wets were obviously the wrong choice at the time, but he's trying to make the best of a bad situation. But you could even see on the exits, you can hear the wheel spin, desperately trying to get traction down, but even no matter how hard he tries, he's not going to have much to answer as Josh Edo enters Copse corner behind and gains almost half a second through it.
Yeah, Jake Benham also moving, trying to defend against Alvaro Caraton in behind. Many of them already boxing onto fresh intermediate tyres. Obviously, that was those that started on the wet compound. I know that probably Danny Berejnay is kicking himself because his pace is unrelenting right now. At 1:35.759, gifted him the fastest lap of the race so far. As we now see the fights also ensue further up, because Brendan Lee is trying to keep Josh Edo at bay. Edo managing to hold on to fifth. Lee still all over his rear wing here right now as they come through the final corner once more to begin yet another lap. Still Otmir out in control once again. At least for now, he is king of the wets. Lap 12 of 26, still a long way to go. 14 laps still to run. Rasmussen has managed to break within the 1.3 second gap that was between he and Josh Edo. He's now only 8.5 tenths away from Brendan Lee and catching the man on the wets.
Is indeed as well. Keeping an eye on Danny Berejnay as well, just to see his progress. He was one of the first to, well, he's obviously one of the front runners who pitted from the full wet tyres to the intermediates, and he is bringing that gap to the cars in front down. It is a big gap though, 5.4 seconds. But Lucas Blakely, I tell you, he is absolutely pushing on in that car. 1.6 between himself and Jarno Otmir now. But how much is he burning through those tyres really by doing this to try and catch up? Because you can see he's got that car really pointed at the rear end. He's really driving really hard to catch up to Jarno Otmir, but we'll see if he can do it. Rasmussen now on the back of Brendan Lee as well as he tries to make his way through. Remember, Rasmussen and Rasmussen and Josh Edo both started 19th and 20th. Now Josh Edo's 5th, and Rasmussen's about to be 6th now as he comes through on the inside and up into P6. So last row of the grid to currently to P5 and P6. You can see in the back Tomek Prajis is also now the next to try and line up Wilson Hughes at the same time. It's getting a bit tight there, but Lucas Blakely he's trying his best to go back-to-back here in PSGL with 2 wins, but he is catching the Jarno Watmere. But how much of his tyres is he using up by doing this?
Well, that is the big question. 1.4 is now the gap. Looking to bring it down. In the last lap, I can tell you that he was just under 6/10 quicker than Jarno Watmere. Put in a personal best in his last lap, in fact, as Thomas Ronha now goes fastest of all. Tomek Prajis getting close to the back of Wilson Hughes again too, and is actually going to try it up the inside, this time on the McLaren driver, and does get him coming through the loop and out of Aintree corner. Prajis on the rise, remember, started right at the rear of the grid and has now found himself into 8th place, chasing after young certainly former F1 esports champion Brendan Lee, but Prajis on the rise, and some vintage Prajis, I would say, in that too.
Certainly is, yeah. I'm keeping an eye on Danny Beresne. It's about a half a second to, well, actually a little bit more than half a second. About 8/10 a lap, he's catching the cars in front. So let's keep an eye on his progress. But look at Blakely, 7/10 he's got now. But I am looking at the ERS. He's got 13%. He's pushing hard to get the slipstream. Jarno Watmere is not pushing. 70% in the ERS battery at the moment for Jarno Watmere. So he's not displeased with Lucas Blakely joining him up the front here. These two now about to go at it, but Lucas now will need to recharge that ERS. Jarno's got plenty to use, and will have burned through a lot of his tyres to get up to Jarno Watmere here. But this is an exciting prospect. These two back at Silverstone, fighting for the win once again, but it seems like Jarno's taking control of this. He is in control, and we'll give a chance for him to try and get back some ERS here. But again, remember, the slipstream very powerful here, so that was Blakely's aim, was to get in that slipstream and try and stick with Jarno here.
Yeah, certainly was. Brendan Lee coming into pits as well off those wet tyres, so he'll be the last of the drivers to strip off the wets. And on to the intermediates, no doubt he will turn too. But as we now watch Blakely come through the left-hander through Luffield very shortly out of Brooklands, still hunting down after Jarno Watmere, both of whom are former F1 sim racing champions, and both of whom have won championships here at PSGL as well. Jarno Watmere, of course, the more recent champion, reigning champion. Blakely winning it in the past. The same year he would go on to become an F1 sim racing world champion. As we now cruise through on lap 14 of 26 into Maggots and Beckett. Since then, though, Blakely has turned his attention to GB4, has become a race winner in real life, and now he's about to take on another former real life driver, both of whom competed in the Race of Champions, where Lucas Blakely would go on to beat the likes of Valtteri Bottas and Sebastian Vettel in Sweden. And now Blakely looking to hammer home, now this time on Jarno Watmere as they cruise through the club corner very shortly. It's come down gradually. Only the last lap, there was a second difference between them, and Blakely was the faster driver as they now head in towards turn 1. Once again, very slick surface here at Silverstone. And Jack, I'm watching my rain chart avidly right now. Can I just say, the rain looks like it's coming more less and less as time goes on, and more drastically, because my line has moved on percentage of rain and it's decreasing very sharply.
Yeah, and I can see Tom Manley's catching the leaders now as well, 2.2 seconds. Rasmussen is boxing onto another set of intermediate tyres, so he's going to drop down the order here. But yeah, Tom Manley is getting closer and closer to that lead battle. 2.2 seconds now, the gap between himself and Lucas Blakely, and that's sort of going up and down, but he is very much trying to get himself into the fight here. But lap 15 to 26, is it going to dry up quick enough? I'm not so sure. So this could end up being a no-stop race, which would be incredible, wouldn't it? But we will see if it does dry up, of course. But it's all between Blakely and Jarno, and possibly Tom Manley in the mix too. He's brought it down to 1.9 seconds, continuing to catch more and more and more. And Blakely is absolutely flying through the corners here. He's really hustling that car. Jarno Watmir just keeping himself to the wet side of the track now, trying to get some cool water over the tyres, of course, to try and stop the overheating. But you can see Blakely seems to have the advantage through the corners, but Jarno doing enough, and Blakely happy to stay behind him. He's doesn't want to pass him, and he's very happy to lift off and stay there. As Manley pits now from P3, lap 15 and 26. So Tom Manley, the first of the leaders to come in. Of course, they all started the race on a set of intermediate tyres. The others behind would have at least stopped once. Declan Barrett also started on the inters. Fresh inters on now for those guys. So the first of the guys who pitted onto inters will be Danny Beresne, and you can see where he is. He's P10 at the moment, but there's going to be some interesting changes now. So you can see these guys deciding to opt to change because, again, there's half the race left, well, just over half the race left, and just under half the race left, sorry. So now they're going to try and make their way up through the field. So we will see how this goes, but seems to be a game of cat and mouse between Jarno Watmir and Lucas Blakely. Blakely gets close, Jarno uses ZRS to get away, so it's going to be a case of who jumps first.
Yeah, and also you've got to wonder, I mean, how is this strategy scenario going to work? Because Danny Beresne obviously doing that initial stint on the wet tyres, now coming out and sat in P8, only 3 seconds away now from Jack West in front of him. Just look at this now. We've got Lucas Blakely, who currently sits in second place, still gaining and gaining on Jarno Watmir, but unable to put himself in a position where he can land an attack here. But you never know, as the rain still continues to fall. We are still in intermediate conditions, a trip out of Chapel, and I think he's just content to follow Jarno Watmir, at least for now. Obviously just trying to lessen the damage done to the compounded tyre, do a little bit of saving, but also at the same time, Jack, manage that ERS level that was depleted not too long ago.
Yeah, I also think he's having to, just having a look at his telemetry, I think he's having to manage fuel as well. He seems to be very, very marginal on that. He's obviously pushed very hard to get up to Jarno Watmir, so he's obviously a bit of that as well. He's having to lift to try and conserve some fuel, which is not something we see very often, but that just shows you how much he was pushing to close up. So now he's going to have to sit behind and also manage his fuel behind. So that'll be the last thing you want, is to run out of fuel before the line. Not something we've ever seen yet, but there's a bit of a scrap going on between, again, Wilson Hughes, Barry Borman, Jack West. That gap is still raging on here. Wilson Hughes making that McLaren incredibly wide. Barry Borman trying his best to get through past the Scotsman here, trying to get around the outside into the next part of the corner, into Aintree now. Looks for the switchback, isn't going to get it though, and is going to probably have to sit behind once again, but does get the run onto the Wellington straight. Will he have enough to get up to the next part of the corner? He's not going to have enough. Wilson Hughes does dump a bit of battery to stay in front, but what I will say, George, this is probably one of the most spread out races I've ever seen in PSGL. I've never seen 12 seconds to third ever.
No, I've never seen that, and I have to tell you, and that is 2 cars on the same strategy as well. You've got to remember as well, it's not as if someone's pitted and that's elongated the gap. It is simply the case that conditions have played a monumental effect in how this is strung out, as we now watch Barry Burman now hustling Wilson Hughes wheel to wheel. And this is not the first time we've seen Burman do this. He did this to Rasmussen of all people not too long ago, and actually came out on top briefly, albeit Rasmussen did come straight back at the Iranian as they now head down the long hanger straight. Jack West also in the heart of all this, and I must say this is a great opportunity for him to also maybe impose himself in this fight as they head out of Stowe Corner once again, down the straight at Vale in towards Club Corner. A little bit of a reprieve as well to Tomek Parajic, who sits in fourth, who can just carry on and not be too concerned with Barry Burman in behind, who is far too busy with this defensive masterclass that is on show here from Wilson Hughes, but he's going to try and go wheel to wheel anyway. Through turn 1 goes the Iranian, former PSGL champion, and up to 5th he goes. Declan Barrett sets the fastest lap.
I think Wilson Hughes might need new overalls after that, because he had a big moment trying to open the steering away for Barry Borman, but he does finally get his way through into the next part of the corner. Now, so lap 18 of 26. Jarno Watmir and Lucas Blakely, Josh Ito, of course, they all started the race in intermediate tyres. The only car that out of those lead pack later on, to pit onto fresh intermediates was Tom Manley. 2-lap-old intermediates. He's got one of some of the freshest tyres out there. How quickly can he catch? Because if it's the case that Jarno and Lucas are dedicated to managing these tyres and trying to get them to the end, is Tom Manley going to play a factor here, because he's catching everybody very quickly in front of him?
Yeah, and I will say he is hustling in some really strong laps as well alike. Blakely once again getting closer to Jarno Opmeer. But as we take a look at Tom Manley's last times, so 1:34.518. That last lap was a personal best there for the Red Bull driver. And can I just say, he's lapping just under 4 seconds a lap faster than these two up at the very front. So, and bear in mind, Declan Barrett's also lapping just as quick. Has just actually gone purple in the first sector on that last lap. But Manley's pace is incredible. And he's on fresh tyres, much like Declan Barrett. They're both near enough bound to the hip. Shanaka Clay, though, apparently going wheel to wheel here this time. Or is he? No, into the pits goes Shanaka Clay. But yes, Manley, at this rate, is going to be catching like a train here towards the end, as Declan Barrett now sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:34.207.
Yeah, Manley's going to have a lot of traffic to clear, though. He's got Ronar, Jack West, but he's not going to waste any time. Up the inside of Ronar into the first corner. Now you can see in front as well, Bahrain. Isnay's on the attack as well. He pitted early onto those intermediate tyres as well. He's now back into 6th place. He's not in a bad position either. Jack West finally finds an opening. Does he? No, he doesn't. He goes behind. But Manley now needs to make quick work of these cars in front to try and see if he can maybe muster an outside chance of getting a win here. It may be a very outside chance, but he's definitely got a chance of the 3rd place. Definitely a step on the podium for Tom Manley would be a fantastic result for him, but he needs now to clear this traffic in front, and he'll have about 6 laps to try and clear this out. But look at the grip difference as he comes through Cobb's corner. Now he's behind Jack West. He'll be in front of him before too long as he heads through Maggots, Beckett's Chapel, clears one. Now he's got to get by Wilson Hughes, and Jack West was very close there to coming a cropper, but now he has another one to make up, and he gets now trying to get alongside Wilson Hughes. Wilson doesn't give him too much room there, as he doesn't have to. But Manley now trying to make his way through. He's definitely got a chance of a podium nonetheless, but maybe that 11-second gap might just be too much to ask. Yeah,
absolutely. We've been watching this fight as well between Opmeer and Blakely brew up. They went side by side, coming through Stowe near enough, and Blakely, unfortunately, unable to get the move done on that occasion. Opmeer was very wise to it, had the inside going through to Stowe at turn 15, but Blakely showing that he will not be turned away. He is still very much glued to the back of the Flying Dutchman's car as they now head down this next straight at Wellington, out of turn 5. Of course, usually you'd get DRS down here, but of course not effective here in this circumstance, given the fact that we do have a deluge here at Northampton, as we now watch Opmeer make his way through Luffield and Brooklands once more. Blakely still chasing him down 2 tenths, just below 3 tenths at this stage. Josh Edo, though, closing at 10.9 now at this point, as Berejnay now looks to go past Tomek Paradzic and does so up to 5th now. Remember, he's already made a change. 14 lap old inters, Jack.
He is, yeah, of course. He's got much fresher tyres than everybody else, but of course, Tom Manley's on the freshest of anybody in this top sort of group here. So he's gonna have a battle to keep him behind. So we will see now how this will unfold. Tom Manley now needs to clear these cars in front and gets by Tomek Paradzic bravely into Maggots and Beckett's. Another one goes past him there. Berejnay now behind Barry Borman. This won't be an easy overtake for him now, and you can see now Tom Manley closing in behind. Here comes Danny Berejnay now on Barry Borman inside in towards Stowe, gets it done, and he moves up into 4th place now, and he's now got Josh Edo in front. Now how quickly does Tom Manley get up to the back of these guys? There may be just 2 little laps left for him to have a chance at a win here, but he's certainly got a great chance of at least a 3rd place, and maybe something might happen in front of him later on. But we're going on to lap 21 of 26. Jarno Opmeer, Lucas Blakely 10 seconds clear out front, of course, and we will see how that battle will unfold here. But Tom Manley trying now to get by Barry Borman, is being patient, doesn't want to break his front wing or do anything silly like that. Now finds the outside line as they head now towards the Wellington straight. Outside line for Tom Manley, round the outside, got the grip, has got the speed and gets it done. Now that's 5th place for Tom Manley. Now he's got 2 more to clear.
Yeah, exquisite moves here from Tom Manley on this, on the fresher compound of intermediate tyre as well. Declan Barrett, who's also on the same strats to a degree, has also made the same moves. He's up to 8th as well, ahead of Wilson Hughes. Thomas Ronhaar left in the dust down in 10th as well. But Manley, once again on the attack, this time hunting down Danny Berejnay, is going to go up the inside, coming through Cobb's corner. Brilliant from Tom Manley, who now ascends. He's a mere second away now from Josh Edo, and a place on the podium. And now with 5 laps still to go, The gap between Edu and Blakely right now is 9.5 seconds. Now, you do have to wonder whether Manley might have something in this. I'm going to say this right now. He's beyond a second faster than Jarno Watmere and Lucas Blakely. He is nearly 2 seconds faster than the pair of them right now. So bear in mind that this could lead to a final lap dash to the bitter end. And don't forget, you can guarantee there's going to be some fighting between the top two as well. If Manley gets past Edo here, Jack, he's got every chance.
And he's going to get him into turn 1. Now we've got a really interesting moment. Lap 22 of 26. Tom Manley is now in clear air again, he was 2 seconds quicker, including passing cars. Now he's got to get his head down and chase after Lucas Blakely and Jarno Watmere, who have been on those tyres since the start of the Grand Prix. Has he got a chance? Is there enough time for him to chase down Jarno Watmere and Lucas Blakely for a potential victory? He's going to have to put in a serious effort here.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge charge. Yellow flags in Sector 3 as we have got Alvaro Caraton retiring here from the race. Sad to lose him after a stellar performance back at Bahrain, but Tom Manley is in a world of his own right now. Just look at this. The gap has come down to 8.5 seconds already. He's going to work here. The deltas are in favour of him. He was 4 and 6 tenths faster than the top two in the first sector alone. This is absolutely sensational for Manley, and he's chipping away at that delta now once more. 8.1 will soon become 7s, as now Blakely, I think, is aware of it. He's going to go wheel to wheel with Otmere around the outside through Stowe. Bravery there from the Scot, and he's managed to pull it off. Lucas Blakely takes the lead of the British Grand Prix.
He might have got the hurry up now from his team behind him, because he knows now Tom Manley's on the attack. That gap was 9.5 seconds on the previous lap. When he crosses the line next time, Declan Barrett's in this as well. He's a little bit too far up, and he's in now into P6 is Declan Barrett. Chance of a P4 for him. The gap is 6.7 seconds as he crossed the line that time. Tom Manley is very much in with a chance of doing this, but he's now got to really attack, because Lucas Blakely has got the hurry up, and he's starting to pull away from Jarno Watmere behind him now. Could there be as well, keep in mind, are they in danger of puncturing those inters? They've gone the whole race distance. Could it be a potential for a puncture on the last lap? But now Tom Manley has surely got a fantastic chance of doing this.
He certainly does. He went purple in the last sector on the last lap as well. You want to know how much quicker he was than the top two? Well, I can tell you this. He was 3 seconds quicker of the realm than Jarno Watmere in that last lap alone. So by the end of this lap, it could be only 2 seconds difference between Manley and Otmere. And just take a look at this. Jarno's already beyond a second outside from Blakely now, and Declan Barrett also on the move. A fantastic run on Josh Edu coming out of Copse Corner, and now rushes through towards Maggots and Beckett's. But take a look at the deficit up at the top. It is now 1.2 between Blakely and Otmere. I think it's going to be tougher for Manley to close up to Blakely, but Otmere is certainly in touching different distance, and it's coming down time and time again. He is faster than Otmere by a second in Sector 1 and by nearly 2 seconds in Sector 2.
Yeah, this lap, of course, when we crossed the line last time, the gap was 6.7 seconds. When we cross the line next time, the gap is 3.3 as he crosses the line. But, of course, that is to Jarno, because he still has to catch him past Jarno, but he might just have run out of time to catch up to Lucas Blakely. Blakely may have timed this nicely to try and gap Jarno behind him and try to go back-to-back with a no-stop race. I don't think we've ever seen a no-stop race here in PSGL. This is, again, breaking new ground. 2.4 already. These guys up front have done the whole race distance on this one set of tyres. It's rained all the way through, but Tom Manley is trying now to he tried something different, and it's working out for him for the moment. 2 seconds the gap. Now he can see his two rivals in front of him.
He can. He has got a glorious vision of the two that currently lie in wait. 2 cars sit between him and victory. Tom Manley is now only 3 seconds away from Lucas Blakely, but he's 1.5 seconds away from Jarno Otmere, and Otmere is losing delta hand over fist as they come through Maggots and Beckett's again. This will be the most painstaking sector for Jarno Opmeer, who is lacking sheer grip here at this point, and Manley alone has taken 5 to 8 tenths away in Maggots and Beckett itself. Heading down in towards now Stowe Corner, and Manley is flying. He's within a second now, very nearly within 8 tenths. It's coming down moment by moment and is now only 6 tenths away, Jack.
He certainly is. Now the thing is, he's got to clear Opmeer on this lap to have a chance of chasing down Lucas Blakely, but what a strategy call this was from Tom Manley nonetheless. In through turn number 1, what's the difference in grip? Look at the difference in grip already, closing up to Jarno Opmeer. It's like he stopped on the circuit. Tom Manley is into second place and surely now has a great shot at the victory, a 2.5 seconds to Lucas Blakely. Tom Manley on the charge and trying now to keep the run of British winners continuing in PSGL.
Certainly, I tell you what, this is absolutely bewildering. We have got Lucas Blakely out in front, who looked to have it home and hosed, but the gap between Manley is only 1.5 between he and Blakely right now. And in that last lap, it was a 1:36.4 for Lucas Blakely and a 1:33.751 for Tom Manley as he now sprints ahead down the Old Paddock Straight. He'll now hurtle through towards Copse Corner, and just look at how much closer he's got already. He's within 8 tenths, he's within 7 tenths, he's very nearly within 6. Coming through Maggots and Beckett, he will surely gain even more time this time. Tom Manley, a young driver, started his career in 2022 when winning the F1 Esports Challengers Championship on Xbox. He is now hunting down an F1 sim racing champion in Lucas Blakely.
He actually made a mistake on the exit of Maggots and Beckett there, cost him a bit of time, but that's not going to matter because we're about to go on to the final lap here at Silverstone, and it's Blakely versus Manley, an inspired strategy call from Tom Manley and the guys there as they come now through the final corner, final lap of the race. Is this the move for the victory? Blakely goes on the defensive. He's going to have to go around the outside of turn number 1 for this one. He won't do it there. Switch back line for Tom Manley. Outside for the next part of the corner. Blakely desperately trying to defend here. He defends the inside, and there's a little bit of contact behind. He's trying to hang on, and Manley goes through. Blakely overcooks it, and Manley leads the British Grand Prix on the final lap.
Tom Manley, you would have thought that he was down and out. The pit stop that he had made could have taken him out of this race. Everyone was saying it was Blakely and Opmeer. They had the greater chance, but tyre wear was the decider. And here on the final lap, it's Tom Manley who takes them round for the final time here at Silverstone, and it definitely looks ripe on paper that we will have yet another British driver take a British Grand Prix win here in PSGL. It could be 4 in the last 4 should Manley bring it home. And take a look at Declan Barrett, who could surely make it a double podium for these two young drivers.
He certainly could. He's catching, isn't he, Declan Barrett? He senses the podium. He might have a shot at it here. Oh, he spun it. Blakely spun on the exit.
Oh.
The puncture has come for Lucas Blakely, and Declan Barrett all of a sudden is now on the podium here, and it's a puncture for Lucas Blakely. The rear left is gone on the McLaren. It's an absolute disaster for McLaren, but it's not a disaster for an inspired strategy call from young Tom Manley, who's out in front now, exits the final corner. Tom Manley wins the British Grand Prix. Meanwhile, behind, Opmeer hangs on for second place versus Declan Barrett, and the back of the grid, Freddie Rasmussen will cross the line in 4th, Beresne 5th. There's absolute chaos behind, but what a moment here in the British Grand Prix. As you can see, the final car is crossing the line now. Wilson Hughes gets the final point, but Lucas Blakely, he pushed too hard. He crosses the line with 3 wheels on the car, 15th place, puncture on the final lap. But what a race, what a call. Tom Manley keeps the run going. British Grand Prix winners. He goes to the top with an inspired strategy call.
Our 4th consecutive British winner of the PSGL British Grand Prix. 19-year-old from Crewe in the UK. Part of the Red Bull fold. He began his F1 sim racing journey by taking the Xbox title in F1 Esports Challengers. He then went ahead to race in his very first F1 Sim Racing World Championship season with AlphaTauri last season. But today, he has brought us a clinic, a strategy masterclass, swapping from Inter to Inter on lap 15. to then bring them home with 11 laps to go to bring himself to the front on the final lap. Broke ahead of 2 former champions out on track. 1 two-time champion, 1 one-time champion. Take a bow, Tom Manley. What an exquisite drive by this young sensation and his Red Bull teammate as well, finishing in 4th place, Freddie Rasmussen, after taking a qualifying ban. And take a bow, Declan Barrett on the podium for the first time. But we've got to celebrate Tom Manley's first ever PSGL PCF1 Grand Prix win.
What a drive. What an incredible race that was. And you can see, again, pole position is not the right place to be.
It's not. It's not.
Otis Lawrence finished 13th in that race.
Incredible.
And wow. And you can see further down, Freddie Rasmussen coming from 19th to finish in 4th, and Josh Ito finishing 6th from 20th on the grid. Tomek Parajic finishes 7th from 18th on the grid. So as you can see, such a mix-up of different strategies across the board. But you have to say, Jarno Wotmere, he bided his time. He knew that Lucas probably pushed too hard, and as you can see, Lucas paid the price, a left rear puncture, and he exits with no points.
Incredible. Guys, incredible. Take a breath, everybody. I mean, that is probably the most bizarre PSGL race, Jack Cadam, we have ever taken. I mean, strategy was kind of out the window, though in this case, it won the day. I mean, it was Inter to Inter. Credit to Jarno Wotmere for taking the intermediate tyres all the way to the finish, first and foremost. I mean, without puncturing, obviously, same cannot be said for Lucas Blakely, but drama right through, but there had to be one winner on the day. Unfortunately, it did not go Jarno's way. It didn't go Lucas Blakely's way. But I think, with regards to sheer ingenuity, it was the right result at the end of the day. Tom Manley playing his cards just at the right moment. Lap 15, he boxed from Inters to Inter and brought it to the very end. Was on the faster tyre. His pace was undeniable, Jack.
Yeah, when I pitted, I thought the gap was way too much, but you could see the tyre drop-off towards the end was incredibly large, and I think in the end, he pulled almost 15 seconds back in that last phase of the Grand Prix. It was incredible. So, inspired strategy call, and the same strategy call for Declan Barrett worked out for him. He picks up a podium for the first time as well. Incredible results for him as well. But I think Jarno will be very happy with that ending as well. Even though he didn't get the victory, he still managed to come out with a P2 without a pit stop.
I do actually owe Tom Manley an apology. He did win at Spa last season, so it wasn't his first. This was his second. So congratulations to Tom Manley taking a second PSGL PCF1 victory. I'm hoping we'll get to hear from him very shortly, folks. Obviously, we're waiting to see whether we do get an interview, but a phenomenal effort. A big thank you to everyone as well who tuned in. In terms of talking points, Jack, I mean, there was a few. I mean, obviously, we've never had a race quite like that before. We were alluding to the gaps and how much of a difference they made, but it just goes to show, a gap can come and go depending on strategy. Just the mere fact that, at some points, Tom Manley was faster than his competitors, whether it be Jarno Wotmere or Lucas Blakely, by 2 seconds in one sector.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really know what the right call was even at the start. We thought that, well, maybe the wets have been the right choice, but then it was the Inters, and then we didn't think that people who pitted made the right decision, but turns out they did in the end. But we love stuff like that. We love when strategies can get mixed up like that. And it's a case of who makes the right call at the right time. No safety car interventions either to do that. But it was incredible to see guys trying something different. You've got the experienced guys trying to stay out, trying to make their tyres last to the end. And then you have the young guns who are deciding to throw caution to the wind. Let's throw a set of tyres on, see what happens, and carve their way through the field. And we've seen that, I think, in many wet to dry races, but I don't think we've ever seen something like that in a full wet to inters race.
Yeah, no, I don't think we've ever seen anything quite like that. We are waiting for the drivers to obviously jump in the interview waiting room. Jarno Wotmere was in there for a brief moment, but has since jumped out. So I think he's obviously got some matters to attend to. We will sit tight just in case he does look to come back. But yeah, incredible. I mean, obviously there was some major moments. I want to give some credit as well to Freddie Rasmussen, Jack, because coming from the back like he did, we alluded to it right at the very end. it's always tough coming from the back, but I'm guessing really in conditions like that, it's probably your best friend here in this situation.
Certainly was. We said he needed something to happen, and it certainly did. Came from 19th up to P4, but you have to wonder if he wasn't caught in that battle so early on, would he have been further up? We don't know, but either way, fantastic drive from him all the way through to P4, and as well to Josh Ito, who started last on the grid. He finished P6 in the end. So great result for Red Bull, who scored nothing last week, of course, so a good result for 4th and a 6th this time. But yeah, a bit of a disaster from McLaren. You know, again, Wilson Hughes did pick up one singular point, but Lucas Blakely was up at the front, and then all of a sudden, a couple more corners to go, and the tyre lets go, and all of a sudden you're nowhere.
Yeah, no, that's right. And it can happen just in a split second like that. I mean, Lucas Blakely must be absolutely kicking himself right now, I think, at this point, obviously losing the tyres like he did. But yeah, bizarre. And certainly, I would say a race that is probably going to go against the grain, I think, of many that we'll see during the course of this championship. I mean, I can't imagine us getting anything like this at Jeddah, for example, when we go to the Corniche. But yeah, we'll wait and see. Yeah, I mean, opens the door again. It looks like we're going to have a close championship, Jack.
Certainly does. I mean, we've got opening 2 rounds. We've got 2 different winners already, different pole sitters. So, I mean, we're on a good track already. But you can sort of tell with the way Blakely was driving, he was really, really pushing on those tyres. And you could see him through those fast right-handers, especially like Maggotts Beckett's all the way through. The car was really driving on the rear. And so it was only a matter of time. I was not surprised that it was the left rear that let go, because that was under so much strain for the whole race. So again, like we're saying, it's going to be a very tight championship. You're going to have races like that. Like Lucas Blakely is obviously going to have races like that, but that's going to mix things up certainly in the championship, of course. And Otmar finishing 2nd. It's obviously good for his championship as well. It's his first podium of the season. And Declan Barrett, of course, stepping on the podium as well for the first time. Of course, we thought Tom Manley had his first victory or whatever, but Declan Barrett, got to give him a hat tip for his performance here today as well. He decided to go against the grain as well, try something different. Almost had 2nd, but decided to. Well, it was almost a Moses parting the Red Sea moment with Lucas Blakely just opening, and just there you go, have a podium.
He's so humble. He's declined the interview. No, he said he can't do. He said he can't do the interview. Sorry. So we are going to wait and see whether we can get Tom Manley, because, like we said, you know, these wins need to be cherished, and I'm sure if you're Tom Manley, that is going to be the most extraordinary win of your sim racing career, I would say, here at this point. Don't get me wrong, his victory at Spa was sensational. I think this one, though, is on another level, Jack.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's like it's Otmir-esque, isn't it?
It is.
Like this sort of carving your way, trying something different, and carving your way through the field, and you know, ultimately beating Otmir at the end is obviously really, really good as well. And it reminds us of those old league races where we used to see guys try alternate strategies, box onto softs when everybody else was trying something else. But it's great to see stuff like that. We love it when we have moments like that where drivers decide to try something different and it works, and it gives us something else to focus on, because we could be probably real here. If that race was fully dry, we probably wouldn't have had the same race that we had there.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think we're going to be hearing from the drivers, folks, unfortunately, which is a very rare occurrence. We haven't heard anything from them. I mean, Tom Manley's probably too busy celebrating. But, folks, what a sensational race. Of course, we will take a quick look at the calendar as well to obviously talk about with what we've got to come here in PSGL, here in PCF1. We have got Japan coming up next. I'm not going to be here for Japan, unfortunately. I'm going to be away for that one. So, Jack, it's going to be you and I believe Dan Field as well taking over that one. Jeddah comes up next for round 4 after that, August 28th. Reminder that Belgium comes up on September 4th. That's round 5. September 11th, then Mexico for round 6. Austria on September 18th for round 7. Qatar for September 25th. Round 8. Las Vegas for round 9, October 2nd. October 9th is Texas for round 10, and then Brazil round 11 for October 16th, and then Abu Dhabi for round 12, October 23rd. So lots to look forward to. Of course, big thank you to GT Omega and Sim Racing Centre for supporting this championship as well. We really do appreciate all their help and support. But, you know, Jack, any final thoughts from yourself before we bring this to a close?
I'm very warm.
I am too.
A year out of this,
Yeah.
you forget how warm it gets in a room after a race like that. But I mean, it's to have the first introduction back like that. That's because actually, funnily enough, the last race that I did before I went off for a year was Silverstone, and it was Otmir winning. And now we've had another crazy race at Silverstone, and it's almost lined up
Probably one of the
perfectly.
craziest, I would say.
Probably one of the craziest we've had.
I would agree with that. Probably in totality, I'd say, because it was just so bizarre. But yeah, interesting race. And guys, we really appreciate your support as well, as always. If you've been tuned in on YouTube, big thank you. I think we actually brushed over 3K views at one point live, so a huge thank you to each and every single one of you for that. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and also leave a like and stay up to date with everything PSGL on there, as well as Twitch. To all our viewers on Twitch, big hello to you guys too. Be sure to leave us a follow and stay up to date with when we go live once again here on this channel. Bear in mind, we've got loads of broadcasted league divisions that are run here, many tiers that take part in PSGL across PC and PlayStation. And also, if you'd like to check out PSGL and find out a little bit more, you can head over to our social media accounts at Premier Sim GL on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Wow, I'm on fire. You can also check me and Jack Canan out as well if you've enjoyed the commentary. Big thank you to each and every single one of you for tuning in first and foremost. You can check me out at George Morgan TV on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. They're all the same, folks. Every single platform at George Morgan TV. Jack, where can they find you, sir?
Well, you can see the fancy, beautiful graphics we've got. We've got the Twitters underneath,
brand new.
right here. Brand new for this season. But of course, you can get me at JackCComs on Twitter. 2 C's, guys. You won't find me. That's it.
2 C's, everybody. Don't forget the 2 C's, whatever you do. But, folks, once again, Tom Manley, a race winner in PSGL for only the second time. He won at Spa. He's won at another classic track, this time at Silverstone. It's going to be a fantastic season ahead. It's going to be very, very tight. We've just witnessed one of the most bizarre ones I think we're going to see this season, but you never know. There could be more to come. Next time, of course, we'll venture around for round 3. We'll see you there next week on Wednesday. Goodbye.